What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
6SS. Chapter 89 Ignoring the defense and shaking the soul, Xia En is too scary. I want your blood. Advertise here. Conqueror's Haki, which is aimed at the body and spirit, can produce a comatose coercion on the oppressed. However, the soul coercion mastered by Xia En is different. In other words, it is not only compatible with the characteristics of Conqueror's Haki, but also the shuddering breath directly acts on the soul, and external forces cannot resist it. Straight hit the soul. Generally, skills like this can only have absolute suppression against those who are weak. But how powerful Xia En is now, the evaluation given by the system is directly, planetary grade. With such soul coercion, don't be too fishy. Immediately, Xia En finished reading the description of soul coercion and wanted to try it immediately. As for the five elders were still watching Xia En and suddenly closed his eyes, presumably they had realized something. Suddenly, the awakened conqueror's breath on Xia En disappeared. I am curious and wanted to ask Xia En, what new ability did you realize? As a result, the words have not yet been spoken. Xia En suddenly opened her eyes. A faint blue flashed through the pupils. A burst of coercion aimed at the soul. It covered Pangu City in just an instant, causing the five elders and even Gellinger, who sensed the movement from outside, to tremble in their souls. What's going on here? Gellinger's teeth were trembling, his legs were weak, and he looked at his hands in disbelief and yelled. It's the soul trembling. It's as if some godlike existence has descended, and it has seriously affected me from my soul to my body. The same is true for five elders, his complexion changed drastically, cold sweat protruded from his forehead densely, his hands and feet trembled, or his soul was trembling uncontrollably. Looking at the source, it turned out to be Xia En in front of me. Invisible fluctuations covered the entire Pangu City, and all the maids and guards fell to the ground, as if they had encountered some terrible horror, and almost collapsed their spirits. Even the real existence was affected, and Pangu City was shaking, with terrifying fluctuations one after another. Xia En in front of him still had just learned Conqueror's Haki's discouraged appearance, just standing there at this moment made them almost unable to stand still. Is it a real demon, or a real god? The feelings of horror and horror repeated in the hearts of five elders and Geringer, until Xia En's full release of soul pressure became more and more intense. The walls of Pangu City were cracked, as if they could not bear it and collapsed. And I also felt the strong coercion against the soul, his beautiful eyes widened, and he was no longer as indifferent as before. But at this time, five elders could hardly bear it anymore, covered his head and shouted, Xia En, stop. Well, at this moment, Xia En seems to have no emotion, indifferent and supreme. Hearing the voices of the five elders, he restrained his soul pressure, and the aura that made his soul tremble disappeared in an instant. Finally, Pangu City calmed down, the vibration stopped, and only a few places were left with dust. Five elders, and Geringer, who was overwhelmed by the coercion just after arriving at the door, were all very scared, and the eyes they looked at Xia En changed. If before, it was because of Master Yim's attention, now it is because of the real perception of Xia En's strength. Even is not calm at this time, the astonishment in his expression is undisguised, and there is a hint of cuteness on his beautiful face. But Xia En will never forget that this is not a pure beauty, she is the most dangerous existence in the world. This is the new ability you learned from Conqueror's Haki. I said in disbelief. From the performance point of view, even her 800-year-old soul has been affected, so it can be seen that her class is not a bit higher than Conqueror's Haki. That kind of soul trembling, if it is stronger, even I will be as ugly as five elders. That's right, I have to thank you for teaching me Conquerors, from which I can comprehend the pressure of the soul. Xia En laughed, mastering this skill, she will have no shortcomings. Teleportation, night guy, flying, defense, soul spirit. Now is an all-around hexagon invincible powerhouse. Soul coercion. Good name, Mew really felt it. So what is it I nodded, and asked solemnly in his heart. She had to understand clearly how perverted Xia En's newly acquired skills were. Conquerors is the spirit of coercion, which enhances the ability to attack, so the coercion of the soul is an upgraded version, which can ignore the defense and directly attack the soul, spirit and reality. Xia En explained a sentence, the joy in my heart. I am very satisfied with the new skills I acquired today. However, in the ears of five elders, Gellinger and others, it was an extremely surprising answer. Ignoring the defense directly affects the soul. No wonder, I just mobilized Conquerors and couldn't defend it. This trick is really too heaven-defying. Not to mention people's spirits, the soul is under pressure, just causing the entire Pangu City to collapse, even saying that it is coercion is not enough to describe the horror of this skill. Gellinger was dumbfounded, unable to describe his feelings at this time. Just now Xia En had to set up defenses and teleport to attack himself, so now Xia En doesn't even need to use his hands, just the pressure of the soul can restrain himself. Im's eyes alternated between bright and dark, and his mind was greatly shaken, and at the same time, he felt happy. Looking at the materials and watching Marineford's live broadcast are far from the shock brought by Xia En face to face. In the past 800 years, she has never heard of this kind of evildoer. Even if it is Joy Boys, it can't reach this outrageous level. But because of Conqueror's hockey earlier, she also maintains the mentality of trusting Xia En, thinking that Xia En can be reused. When an idea arises, consider it and make an immediate decision. So he immediately said, "You are really a monster genius who is rare in 1,000 years, and Mew is very optimistic about you." Xia En is still a little puzzled, and this is not the first time that I said he is optimistic about himself. But what he said after that made Xia En stunned. "You are qualified to be by Mu's side, so not only can you succeed the position of Marine Marshal, Mew also wants to invite you to become Celestial Dragons. And become the 6th star of the world government." Xia En was stunned, and opened her mouth in surprise. This was the first time he lost his composure, looking at in disbelief. What is this all about? Admiral's position has just been promoted, and in a blink of an eye 5 elders said that she wants to succeed the Marshal, but she met the King of the World, and she directly asked herself to become the Celestial Dragons and the 6th star of the world government. That's what you say, stay by your side. Don't be surprised, your strength is worthy, as long as you are devoted to Mew, all power and wealth are not a problem. Mum, think about it, you will be White Dragon Star from now on. Even stepped forward to pat Xia En on the shoulder in a friendly way. This kind of attitude, this kind of tone. There is even a sense of deja vu of being taken care of by the Queen. However, as soon as these words came out, Xia En was still like this, and the others were even more shocked to the point of dumbfounded. 5 elders and Gellinger all felt that Xia En was promoted too fast. This world is essentially a world where the strong are respected. Admiral was promoted to Marshal, and Xia En was able to understand the problem of promotion. Because I am really strong, this is not blind self-confidence. With my current strength, even if it is the Knights of God, I will not be my enemy in 3 strokes. But he was really surprised to become the 6th star. It seems that since reacted from the shock, his eyes have become a little hot. This is a little strange, it's good to appreciate it, because why is it differently hot? But at this time, after reacting from the shock, the somewhat embarrassed 5 elders and Geringer knelt in front of They felt that this decision was too hasty. Xia En's background had just been clarified, but after meeting, she immediately became their equal status and authority. And it is an unprecedented situation. You must know that Xia En does not have the blood of celestial dragons on her body, and she is very young. To become the 6th star, I am afraid it will be difficult to convince the public. Therefore, 5 elders, including Gellinger, wanted to persuade to promote him slowly later instead of overnight. As a result, knew what they wanted to say before they could speak. The indifferent eyes swept over them, immediately making 5 elders and Geringer speechless. It's Mu's decision, it's an order. It's hard to imagine that the glamorous queen has such a hockey aura, shutting everyone up with one sentence. Compared to Pirate Empress Hancock, Xia En couldn't help but feel that this is really attractive. Too bad, an old hag. Follow the will of the Creator. The 5 elders could only respectfully bow their heads and prostrate, a little apprehensive. They knew that the attitude they wanted to persuade just now had made Lord unhappy. But I still couldn't help being surprised in my heart. Mr. Yimu is really extraordinary to Xia En, never has such a person been given such a great honor. Xia En was surprised by himself, and was promoted by the Marine Marshal and the Celestial Dragons. Forget about being promoted, she will give me the same status as the 5 elders, and become the highest authority under the throne. This treatment is 100 million points fierce. He muttered to himself. But Xia En is really not interested in being Marshal, it is a very busy position. I think I still can't be a Marine Marshal, the responsibility is too big and I don't have freedom, a rational person like Mr. Sengoku is more suitable. How about persuading him to continue as the 6th star? I can accept it. Xia En looked at Im's pleasing face and said with a smile. I am still somewhat interested in the highest status, anyway, things are handled by 5 elders, and I am the one who does not work and still takes a salary to fish. Mum, as you wish. Seeing that Xia En did not refuse to become the 6th star, also smiled lightly. This surprised the 5 elders. Master Im's expression has not been as much as it is today in a year. By the way, celestial dragons are the 6th star, right? Then can I kill celestial dragons at will? Xia En was very happy on the surface, but she changed her mind and asked. This is a test, and it is also asking for power from It is to see how much she values herself, and whether she has other intentions besides strength. After all, Xia En knows that, except for Gellinger, including they are all, hell, existences, extremely dark, not good people. At the same time, Xia En did see some celestial dragons who were very unpleasant and anti-personality, and directly slapped them to death. In the end, Im's words made both 5 elders and Gellinger uneasy again. But, I grant you power, except for those present, the other celestial dragons are all mortals in front of you. Didn't care about this at all, and his smile towards Xia En became more and more kind. There is a feeling that I am not afraid that you will not ask, but I am afraid that you will not want anything. Both 5 elders and Geringer were sweating, and they wanted to persuade them not to speak up, so they were speechless to Xia En for a while. Even if you are very strong and capable fighting, it wouldn't make Mr. the Creator, value it so much. Even celestial dragons can be killed at will. No, Lord I Am said that everyone in front of him is mortal except those present. What a bias at this time. Then I'll be fine. Xia En smiled heartily and agreed to become the 6th star of celestial dragons on the spot. As for Im's mind, I can't guess it, but I can know from the temptation just now that I Am must have something in himself, so he surpassed the attitude of valuing it. But, Xia En is confident that she is invincible, but if something goes wrong, so what about I Am? An 800-year-old monster can't stand Yi Gai. Xia En, you are really lucky. For so many years, there are not many people who know the existence of Lord I Am, let alone become the 6th star. However, we believe good that God has his own considerations, and we should abide by them. From now on, you are one of us. The 5 elders will not fight against I Am. Since the Creator has made a decision, they will execute it without hesitation, regardless of their unnecessary emotions. Xia En smiled and nodded, listening to their words in one ear and out the other. In fact, since arriving in Pangu City, Xia En didn't even salute, and her tone was even more equal. It seemed that I Am didn't care, and 5 elders didn't notice Xia En's attitude under the continuous shock. I am very satisfied with the attitude of the 5 elders who started to change, and praised themselves with Xia En. Immediately, he stretched out his white palm to Xia En and said, Mum needs a drop of your blood to be certified by celestial dragons. The sudden request for blood made Xia En startled, and her eyes froze. Blood, is it some kind of control secret technique? She wants to control me to become a lackey. However, before Xia En could raise any questions, the 5 elders plopped and kowtowed to persuade them. Master I Am, don't do it, quote. He has been approved by you. Enough, why use blood certification? It's your energy that's being damaged. This law certification is unnecessary. Master I Am, think twice. We all admit his identity, if it is authenticated with blood, your body. 5 elders changed his previous attitude of daring to think and dare not speak, and directly spoke out to persuade him again and again. His attitude was more intense than before. It seems that if Xia En handed over the blood, the one who suffers is I Am herself. Xia En was all confused, and Geringer didn't seem to understand it very well. Seeing Im's face turned gloomy, he prostrated himself on the ground in fright. What's the situation? I shouldn't be at a disadvantage by using my blood. Isn't it used to control me? Xia En couldn't figure it out, and couldn't get in to ask questions. Chapter 90. Amaterasu God Tier, Form. 5 Elders. Celestial Dragons Tied. Then let them fend for themselves. Advertise here. 5 Elders didn't have such a strong objection when I Am gave him the 6th star, so he could only watch 5 Elders kneeling and persuading I Am inexplicably. System, if I give blood, it won't be manipulated or influenced like a puppet, right? Xia En couldn't figure it out, so she simply asked the system. Generally speaking, the system will not answer. But this time, a reply popped up. The host is the master selected by the system, even the life of the world cannot control the area through blood. Close black lens bracket. Beef batch. Xia En gave a thumbs up silently in her heart, and she was suddenly relieved. At the same time, judging from the attitudes of 5 elders and others, it doesn't seem like they want blood to do something. Otherwise, with such a strong strength as their own, it is most likely to persuade themselves to hand over their blood. Just thinking about it, it turned out at this time. I Am seemed a little angry. The whole body was filled with black, flame-like energy, forming a streamer of steam, wrapping around the body, and the whole body underwent a huge change. I saw that her whole figure became extremely huge, the top of her head was poking up to the top of the hall, her face was majestic. The sweeping momentum caused the entire Pangu city to tremble violently, causing dust to fall. Under her body was the shadow of a monster looming, but the main body kept its original appearance, exuding an indescribable, black light. But those dark red pupils exuded infinite aura, as if a real god descended, and the coercion suppressed 5 elders heavily on the ground. In this form, Yim gave Xia En a very strong feeling, even close to the level he used Night Guy in Marineford. Looking at the black shadow under her feet again, Xia En was thoughtful. At this time, Geringer unintentionally revealed Im's ability form, the ability of the name of God. Amaterasu God Tier Form. Lord I Am is angry. Gellinger's old face was full of horror and trembling. So it's Amaterasu God Tier, the sun goddess, and I really have some relationship with my Susanoo. Xia En laughed dumbfounded in her heart, a little surprised. The ability of hell that she guessed at the beginning was completely different. That hell-like shadow of ability is probably the black shadow monster enslaved by Im's feet, and something like a salamander is just incidental. One Piece world, those who are above the gods are awesome existences, and I Am guesses that she has used her ability to live for so long, which means that she is much more powerful than ordinary phantom beast fruits. Sure enough, I Am 623 also became angry with 5 elders' persuasion, and scolded. Presumptuous. The sound reverberated in the hall, making the 5 stars tremble involuntarily. The majesty of the Creator cannot be contradicted by their concern. Master I Am, we were wrong. 5 elders no longer had the fierce attitude just now, and just begged for mercy. Won't put up with it next time. I Am said indifferently, and the astonishing change immediately returned to normal. Once again, she became a peerless beauty of normal human size, as if the posture of God just now had never appeared before. Yes, we obey the will of the Creator. The 5 elders are well behaved. I Am turned around and faced Xia En with a kind face, completely different from the previous attitude, and asked for blood again. Mum wants your blood. Attitude is very good, but Xia En suspects that the form that was displayed just now is for herself to see. For example, after turning into the Amaterasu god tier form, I Am observed himself several times in a subtle way. Seemingly seeing that he was not moved by Amaterasu Kamui, I Am yelled out. Give sweet dates first and then hit a stick. Interesting. At this time, Xia En also knew that she would not be murdered. Faced with Im's request, she decisively pricked her skin with her fingertips and handed over a drop of blood. Anyway, if something is wrong, just smash Pangu City into pieces. Seeing that Xia En gave blood without hesitation, I Am smiled, like 100 flowers blooming, especially beautiful. But the 5 elders prostrated on the ground with a heartbroken look, but they never dared to stop them. Xia En, who noticed it, couldn't help muttering, I'm the one who bleeds. Immediately, I Am took the drop of blood, which looked like a crimson drop of blood that looked like an ordinary person, floating in the palm of his hand with some unknown ability. I Am showed an inexplicable expression, focusing all his attention on this drop of blood, as if he still had expectations. He immediately opened his mouth and swallowed it in one gulp. That's right, the throat doesn't move, it just goes down. Xia En was very surprised to see it, thinking that there would be some abilities, rituals and other procedures. The result is so simple, just swallow it. You. Xia En is really curious and is about to ask a question. As a result, at this time, I Am waved his hand and said, it's okay, no problem, you can go down and rest first. Why? After swallowing the blood, I Am directly said that he can leave. Xia En was even more confused, but in the middle of speaking, 5 elders stopped in front of him. With dark faces, the 5 said in a muffled voice, let's go, Xia En. Oh, no, I want to ask. Xia En stood on tiptoe, wanting to continue asking. I Am had already walked up the steps, so it was not good to continue to question her, so she could only turn to the 5 elders who knew about it. While taking it out, he asked, 5 elders, what's going on? The blood is certified as celestial dragons, why did you just swallow it in one gulp? I don't feel any change. 5 elders had 5 black faces, and they didn't have a good answer to Xia En's question at all. Just don't say it, just say it. You are now celestial dragons. Let's go, take you to become the 6th star. Good guy, it's like Xia En molested I Am, the attitude is not as eager as before. But Xia En is persistent. Anyway, everyone is now on the same level, and continues to ask. No, why did you swallow my blood, and why are you so opposed? Will swallowing my blood have any ill effects on her? 5 elders listen, the faces are even darker. After Xia En and 5 elders left, bursts of curious inquiries vaguely came, and I Am smiled slightly upon hearing them. Immediately, she also walked slowly to the depths of Pangu City, walked through the support field and came to a huge secret room, opened the heavy iron door and entered. Here, a huge straw hat is stored, because the temperature of the environment is low, even some hoarfrost condenses on the surface of the straw hat, and the surrounding is surrounded by white mist and cold air. At this time, I Am gently stroked his upper stomach behind him, and surprise flashed in his eyes. Yes, 800 years, finally this moment. Xia En is indeed the man of destiny. If Xia En heard Im's words here, her jaw would drop to the ground in shock. Touch the belly, there is. These words add up, it's hard to miss. And the destiny that I Am said also has a deep meaning. During the period of swallowing the blood, it quickly reacted with her body, allowing her to successfully conceive a different reality. Finally gave birth to the son of destiny. When I Am was alone, the surprise on his face was undisguised, and he was very happy to see. At the same time, when she felt the change in her body, the huge straw hat seemed to sense something, and suddenly lit up. The surrounding cold air was dispelled, the hoarfrost disappeared, the whole straw hat was restored as new, and the hazy light gradually became brighter. Im's expression also became serious, watching the changes in the straw hat. And these rays of light suddenly turned into projection-like rays of light, outlining a phantom above the straw hat. This phantom does not look so stable, with sharp hair, a face that is bigger than normal, and only one eye. This eyeball occupies most of the face, it can be seen that it is covered with bloodshot eyes, and the pupil is as irregular as a lizard. With the appearance of the phantom, the sound also followed, like a murmur, like an echo in the open space, and I Am could vaguely hear the other party saying. The strong man I was looking for, is here. Afterwards, the phantom disappeared directly, as if it had never appeared before, and the cold air in the room seemed to recover. All that remains is the straw hat that has been restored as new, and I'm stiff back facing the straw hat. Satan Sheng, why don't you tell me, what's going on? The 5 elders brought Xia En to the room of power, but Xia En still persevered in questioning. Like a cat's paw scratching his heart, Xia En was curious about the group relationship for the first time. Don't worry too much, Xia En, Master Yim will complete the bloodline certification for you. 5 elders seemed to have figured it out at this time, and they didn't continue to put on a dark face, but they were also somewhat helpless when Xia En asked. But they still wanted to use the excuse of bloodline certification to prevaricate Shaen. The more you say that, it proves that this is an excuse. Suddenly at this time, the guard at the door sent a report. It turns out that the CPO, Sengoku, San Admiral, Grand Masuru and other high-level marines have arrived collectively. Usually such a big battle to see the five elders must have happened something extraordinary. Shaen sat casually on the sofa, temporarily stopped asking questions, and was a little surprised to see Rob Lucci in a white suit with a bird on his shoulder. This guy actually became CPO after the war. It seems that my own appearance has changed a lot of history, and even Rob Lucci, a person who has no communication, has advanced his status in advance. But that's beside the point. Sengoku, 3 Admiral and other Marine executives arrived. They first met 5 elders, and after nodding to Shaen, they went straight to the topic. 5 elders, there is an important situation. Kaido of the Beasts captured 7 celestial dragons, and issued an ultimatum to Marine, demanding that Shaen be tied up and exchanged within 3 days, otherwise. The faces of Sengoku and others are very dignified. Kaido hit the celestial dragons, 7 at a time. It was the worst thing to happen in an entire era, literally slapping Mariajoy in the face. The faces of 5 elders and the boss of the Knights of God, Gellinger Shungdu, who came over, suddenly became gloomy. But when they said they wanted to exchange the 7 celestial dragons with Shaen, 5 elders refused without hesitation, as Kaido doing this to get revenge on Shaen. It is really a good idea to use the majesty of the world government to suppress Shaen and let him be captured without a fight. There will definitely be an ambush, Yuan En can't go. The 5 elders refused flatly, and Saint Geringer said bluntly, let those 7 celestial dragons fend for themselves. Question mark. Sengoku, 3 admirals, and even Rob Lucci, who was promoted to CPO, were dumbfounded. Offending the celestial dragons and hijacking the celestial dragons, isn't it necessary to take action? Besides the celestial dragon's life, Sengoku and others have already expected that the 5 elders will be furious, and they discussed countermeasures on the spot. There is really no other way to hand over Shaen and protect Celestial first. The life of the dragons. This is the correct script. After all, the title of Descendants of God is the authority that the world government has been maintaining. 5 elders, Street, Gellinger. This. Marine was confused, and Rob Lucci was even more confused. It was very wrong, but he couldn't help but want to ask. As a result, Geringer of the Figolando family, the leader of the Knights of God who was amiable with Shaen, glared at him directly, making Rob Lucci afraid to continue talking. Shaen herself was also very confused, and she was decisive enough to refuse. 5 elders and Geringer Sheng really followed M's order wholeheartedly. But at this moment, the system suddenly popped up an upgrade. Go alone and deal with Kaido's layout, you can get rich rewards 1000% doubled rewards close black lens bracket. I go. Shaen's eyes are red, this is the first time I have seen a 1000% reward. 200% has already let oneself directly cross the legend, isn't 1000% stable in the world and even invincible in the starry sky. What else to consider? Go, must go. Shaen, Sengoku, Kizaru and others all showed a sense of relief. Sure enough, Shaen is such a dedicated person, knowing that Kaido will have an ambush, he still chooses to fight without hesitation. But this time it's not simply to deal with the enemy, but to get up and exchange 7 celestial dragons. Just as they were about to say something, 5 elders and Gellinger frowned and objected faster than Sengoku and Kizaru. No, Shaen, you are now the 6th star. Far from being able to compare with 7 ordinary celestial dragons juniors. The combined lives of their 7 celestial dragons are not as noble as yours, so there is no need to take risks. Don't be impulsive, it's just a Kaido. If he really dares to do something, we will have a chance to catch him later. You have a high status, if you want to go, you can go, because it's dangerous. 5 elders and Geringer tried their best to persuade Shaen, pointing out that Shaen should take into account her own identity at this time, and she is a noble existence. But the other people present were shocked, and some couldn't believe it and suspected that they had heard it wrong. What 6th star? Rob Lucci stuttered. Aokiji swallowed even more from behind. I can hear it clearly, the 6th star or something. Shaen came to Mariajoy. What the hell happened? 5 elders, 6th star. Sengoku and Granny Crane looked at each other, seeing doubt and surprise in each other's eyes. I can't tell from the words that Shaen's identity has changed drastically. Is he now a Celestial Dragons? Chapter 91 Marine executives are a little confused, 6th star. Exerting soul coercion again, it's too terrifying. Advertise here. Sengoku, 3 admirals, including CP0 Rob Lucci were very surprised, and after thinking about it, they asked what happened to 5 elders. Did Shaen really become the unprecedented 6th star? Celestial Dragons. But before they could ask, 5 elders signaled to everyone, you guys go and wait for a while, we have something to talk to Shaen about. This is to pull Shaen to have a one-on-one chat. Kaori, just. Sengoku stopped 3 admirals, Rob Lucci and others who wanted to ask questions, and led everyone out of the power room first. Although he was very curious about what happened to Shaen when he came to Mariajoy, and whether his identity had a triple jump, Sengoku knew that it would be clear afterwards. Among the power players, only 5 elders, Gellinger, and Xia En are left. It's not a problem for me to go, with Kaido's strength, he can't pose a threat to me. Xia En crossed her legs, glanced at 5 elders and others, and said that she was still going. But 5 elders and Gellinger frowned and shook their heads. You didn't listen to what the old man said. Sa Tansheng said helplessly. You are Saint Xia En now, not Xia En. You are a more noble existence than ordinary celestial dragons, but we can't let you take risks easily if there are some dangers. Marcus Mazisheng slowly handed over a cup of tea and said earnestly. But Xia En is unmoved, even if they don't let her go. Just kidding, that's a 1000% reward. I personally came to persuade him without any discussion. Seeing that Xia En still had the same expression, the 5 elders exchanged glances with Geringer. Street. Topman Vochuli sat up straight, and said slowly, don't you want to know the real reason why Lord wants your blood? Yes, the so-called bloodline certification is just a cover, right? I haven't found any certification marks on my bloodline. Xia En smiled lightly. It seemed that the 5 elders were finally going to say that they were interested. You're right, it's not a real bloodline certification, but it's not an act that's bad for you. It just requires a drop of your blood, but Lord will consume energy. Street. Topman Vouchery shook his head slightly. It can be seen that they are very displeased with doing such an action. Since it will be wasted, why do you need my blood? Xia En was even more puzzled. Because Lord wants to have a baby. Izan Baron v. Nasho Langsheng closed his eyes, stuck 2 fingers on his bald head, and said helplessly. Hearing this, Xia En groaned in her heart, and stood up in surprise. Having a baby. Do you want my blood to do this? No, giving birth to a baby shouldn't be. Cough cough, so what? With blood. Really extraordinary. Miss wants to conceive no ordinary child, and we don't know why, but we know that she will consume her own energy to initiate the gestation process after swallowing the blood. However, it may not be possible to give birth smoothly, because not everyone's blood can do it. At least for hundreds of years, Lord has not succeeded. Financial Martial God, Shepherd X Peter Saint also seriously explained to Xia En at this time. Master has tried a lot of strong people's blood before, trying to conceive the desired embryo, such as the troublesome rocks, and even Joey Boy, but it didn't work, and we don't know the reason. I just know that Lord won't ask for blood easily, and you may not be successful in obtaining blood, but it seems to be very sure, so you are the person appointed by Lord personally. This is equivalent to verifying that you are celestial dragons, more noble than other celestial dragons. The 5 elders spoke in a heavy tone, and Xia En understood the meaning. To put it simply, I am the person she appointed, and the blood is the blood, and I have a connection with So no matter whether wants to have a child or not, his status in Mariajoy has been improved, and it is like to be on an equal footing with 5 elders. If you really have a child, then the 5 elders need to be respectful to Xia En. Xia En breathed a sigh of relief, and understood the reason why 5 elders and the Knights of God would rather sacrifice ordinary celestial dragons than take risks by themselves. But really didn't expect to be bred with blood. Could it be that her stomach can decompose blood genes? So, Xia En, what is your decision? 5 elders explained earnestly and persuaded them, and they all looked at Xia En and asked. Actually, you are all worrying too much. I am afraid that you have forgotten my strength. Xia En raised her head slightly and said confidently. The faint blue light in the pupils flashed past, making both 5 elders and Saint Geringer somewhat startled. You, according to what you say, then I am now in the same camp as your celestial dragons, so I have to go even more. Saying that, Xia En stood up directly. Now that I know the truth about asking for blood, I just want a child. Once it is conceived, although it is not a normal process, it can be regarded as a trace of fetters on Having said that, 5 elders did not expect Xia En to still be so determined. Everyone, don't forget, first from Marine. And once the 7 celestial dragons are executed by Kaido, the dignity of the world government will be discredited. Xia En is a must. The dignity of the world government has been dismantled. This matter is actually very important to 5 elders, and they also understand the importance of losing their dignity. So under hesitation, coupled with Xia En's firmness, he could only silently nod in agreement. They were still a little relieved in their hearts. Originally, they were of an outsider's blood, and there was always some estrangement in their hearts, but Xia En's clear stance on her made them feel very comfortable in accepting it. Since you insist on going, please be sure to protect yourself. Kaido will definitely not be that simple. Saint Satan ordered. You are the 6th star and the highest authority in the world government. You are in a high position and safety comes first. We will make good preparations for foreign aid, and no matter what happens at that time, we will support the past as quickly as possible. You signal, and we will take action ourselves. Gellinger and the other 5 elders all reminded Xia En, and their attitude was very serious. Don't worry. Then I'll take Marine to prepare first. Xia En smiled slightly, turned around and walked outside. The 5 elders and Saint Geringer watched off, with complicated expressions on their faces. I thought to myself that he is indeed the genius with the highest strength in Summit War, with absolute confidence in his strength, knowing that Kaido will set up an ambush, he is still calm. Sengoku, Granny Crane, 3 admirals, Rob Lucci and others saw Xia En coming out, and hurriedly followed after greeting her. Xia En, what the hell is going on? Marineford, the marshal's office area on the top floor. Actually, 5 elders brought me into the Celestial Dragon's circle, and let me be the 6th star based on my strength. Xia En sat across from Sengoku, concealed the truth about I am, and put it all on 5 elders. After all, the identity of that old witch is very taboo, and it may not be a good thing for Marine to know. But this result shocked everyone present. The 6th star. You really became the supreme power. Garp also came here at this time. Hearing about Mariajoy, and now hearing Xia En's confession, all the senbei spouted out of his mouth. After the Great War, he was first promoted to admiral, and then nominated to be marshal. Even the old guy Kong was acquiescing directly. Then I went to meet the 5 elders, and was immediately promoted. No, this is no longer a promotion, but treating Xia En as an equal existence, the highest power is only celestial dragons qualified. Actually, they didn't send me any missions, they directly confirmed my identity. To be honest, I was also very surprised. Xia En shrugged her shoulders, showing no pretensions to the Marine executives present after the upgrade. After all, they are all the people who have taken care of me all the way, and they are also a group of people recognized by Xia En. Good guy, I can't get over it all at once. Kizaru pressed his temples, feeling dizzy from shock. In the blink of an eye, Xia En became the immediate boss of the entire Marine. We really can't figure out the idea of 5 elders, but it's a good thing that you can skyrocket. Seeing Xia En's attitude towards them as usual, Granny he was very relieved after being shocked. On the bright side, Xia En was cultivated by them alone. It's all over, where else can I go? Sengoku's shock was no less than theirs, he said with a sigh. The 6th star, what an honor. Most importantly, Xia En was recognized as celestial dragons outside of 20 families, and the 5 elders probably wanted to completely bind their invincible combat power to the celestial dragons' camp. Of course, not only Sengoku felt so, but everyone present felt so. But I declined the position of marshal, Mr. Sengoku, this position must be you. Xia En said with a smile. 0. Seeking flowers. Sengoku was taken aback, then shook his head, and did not continue on this topic. In fact, when Xia En said this, he knew that his resignation might not be passed easily. Then what is Kaido going to do this time? I'll go there alone, the 5 elders will be prepared, and the Marines will also need to gather their troops. Xia En thought for a while before speaking. Have you thought about it? Those people are not easy. They dare to catch 7 celestial dragons directly. The trap Kaido set up will be dangerous. Having said that, everyone present became dignified. Although we know that Xia En's strength is very strong, and his defense is even more amazing, but it is not an existence that cannot be broken. If you encounter a siege, the danger is still very high, and everyone present is a little worried. It doesn't matter, this time in Mariajoy is not without new gains. Xia En understands everyone's concerns and expresses her confidence. Reward. Everyone was suddenly curious. What kind of harvest can make Xia En not care about the traps he knows? Learned Conqueror's Haki, and also comprehended soul coercion from it, covering a very wide range. Xia En didn't hide the curious eyes from everyone in Marine, and told about the new moves. Hiss. Conqueror's Haki. This thing is innate, you can also submit. Garp gasped and said in surprise. Sengoku, Granny Crane, San Admiral and others were even more surprised. Point 0. I really planned to try it at the beginning, but I didn't expect it to be really possible. Xia En smiled and nodded. Sure enough, it's you, outrageous comprehension. Everyone sighed again. From finger pistol at the beginning to Conqueror's Haki today, it really opened their eyes to understand what a heaven-defying evildoer is. However, at this time, Kizaru was very curious and said, it seems that this trick you have comprehended is very powerful, how is it compared with the form of red energy? Why don't you use it and try it? Not to mention, there is Garp who is in charge of Conquerors, and Sengoku is curious about how much Xia En can comprehend from Conqueror's Haki. Moreover, this soul coercion is very extraordinary when you hear it. Then get ready. Xia En stood up and gave a warning. Immediately, the 3 admirals, Sengoku, Garp and others became serious, observing Xia En's use of soul coercion. The activation is the same as Conqueror's Haki, it doesn't take much time to prepare, only to see a faint blue flash in Xia En's eyes. Immediately, invisible fluctuations instantly covered the audience. The overwhelming coercion against the soul descends. With a bang, the chairs under the buttocks of Aokiji, Akainu, and Kizaru exploded. Even with their eyes open, they seem to be in a dark space, with an indescribable terrifying coercion above their heads, which makes their souls fight bravely. This is a completely different oppressive force from Conqueror's Haki, and its effect has even affected the essence, causing the entire fortress to shake. Fortunately, Xia En is targeted at this time, just everyone present. But just like that, Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru couldn't bear it. But the coercion of the effect is no longer a matter of courage to resist, but the soul. Terrified, as if I had encountered a great horror, even Sengoku and Garp were sweating coldly, they had seen Xia En's invincible strength now. Forced, even if not weak. Stop, stop, I can't stand the old woman. In just a few seconds, Grandma He hurriedly shouted to stop, holding the table with her eyes wide open and panting continuously. Shaen put it away immediately after hearing the words, and looked at Granny He in embarrassment. I almost forgot, there is also the resourceful general, which is not very strong. But now, the three admirals couldn't handle it, and Garp Sengoku was shocked. There was even panic in the eyes of all of them. Soul coercion, even worse than conquerors. Shaen, you, daughter outrageous. Aokiji and Kazaru supported the cracked table to stand firm, and said with wry smiles. The power of this soul deterrence is really too terrifying, it is not as simple as mental oppression at all, at that moment it seems that even the initiative of the ability has been lost. Good boy, I still underestimated you. With this method, no matter how powerful Kaido's traps are, you won't be afraid. Garp and Sengoku looked at each other and exclaimed. Next, they had no opinion on Shaen's departure at all, and began to discuss the countermeasures. Chapter 92 Kaido. Red hair, your face is worthless. It's been 3 days and Shaen is still not here. Advertise here. However, what Marine executives don't know is that the situation on Kaido's side is far beyond their imagination. Originally thought that after the Marineford War, it was a normal phenomenon for all parties to disappear, and they did not dare to be exposed to Marine's sight. As everyone knows, at this very moment, far away in the New World, Kaido set the location on a large island not far from Wano-kuni, where unimaginably huge forces gather. The Revolutionary Army, the Whitebeard Pirates, the Big Mom Pirates, and the powerful and supernovas of the old days. They were all assembled together. 7 crucifixes are erected in the center of the island, and the celestial dragons are bound to be beaten miserably. The broken flying dragon's hoof luxury ship was thrown aside in tatters. By the bonfire below, several groups were separated. First, on the side of the Revolutionary Army, Luffy stood in front of a man with a tattoo on his face, and said in surprise, "You are my father. Monkey D. Dragon." However, not only Monkey D. Dragon, but almost all members of the Revolutionary Army are here. The commander of the General Army, the Monster King Ivankov, the deputy commander of the Army Lightning, the commanders of the 4 major armies and their adjutants, and even the Kadri tyrant Shang appeared in the row with cloaks. Luffy carried out a series of actions to recognize relatives, especially when he saw Sabo. He and Ace cried into tears. Next to it is a small group of young beings, such as Kira, Kid, Hawkins, Trafalgar Law and other supernovas. In the back is a large group of pirates that shocked the New World, and the Whitebeard pirate group head-to-head with Marine. Whitebeard sat in the center, surrounded by Marco, Yizang, Beasta, Josie and other captains, 877, and behind him was Captain Mixia, who was all over the world. I saw Whitebeard drinking wine. Although he was far away from the crowd and formed a group by himself, his eyes were on Kaido from time to time, thinking in his heart that he would kill him after the matter was over. What's more, Whitebeard recovered after Op Fruit's treatment, and he is in peak condition, just sitting there faintly surpasses the invisible aura of everyone present. Kaido also noticed Whitebeard's gaze and snorted coldly in his heart. Around him are also the 3 major Kanbans, Fei Lubao and other main subordinates, and the same person who looks like a small group as Charlotte Linlin. Munching on sweets, surrounded by a crowd serving Charlotte Linlin. Behind her, Katakuri, Perospero and other ministers stared blankly at everyone present. HMPH, what a grand occasion, even the Golden Lions are quite a few of them. Katakuri is on guard against such a scene. Although it is said that they all have the same goal now, after the resolution, this group of people will not have such a harmonious scene. It's the Revolutionary Army again, and it's the 4 emperors again. There is also the flying pirate Golden Lion, the Devil's Air Bullet, and the legendary legend, the Lonely Red who has regained her youthful appearance. That's right. At this time, the Red Earl was standing on the cross that bound the celestial dragons, with a bloodline on the corner of his mouth. The blood of the celestial dragons is really bloody. The Red Earl wiped his mouth disdainfully, and then showed a bewitching smile. After getting the vampire fruit, he not only regained his peak physical strength, but even his strength seemed to go a step further. You're disgusting, the blood of these filthy celestial dragons can't be any better. Just don't let them bleed to death. Bullet looked up at the Red Earl, and said angrily. Boy, the word disgusting is not used on me. Although we have some friendships that share weal and woe, but. The Red Earl smiled coldly. You've regained your youth, and I'm more prepared, why? Let's make gestures while Shaen isn't here. Bullet grinned, a little excitedly. But at this time, Kaido's voice came over. Hey, we still need to save our energy. It will be a tough battle when the White Dragon Shaen arrives. Hearing this, both Bullet and the Red Earl smiled disapprovingly. That's right, so many forces and powerful people gathered here, the target is Shaen. They know very well that Shaen is strong, and they formed an alliance for the first time. This time, they will join forces to destroy Marine's strongest combat power. There is no way, even if he regained his youth, the Red Earl is not sure that he can single out Shaen, and he is not even sure that he can join forces with Bullet and Golden Lion again, that's why he participated in this party. 0. At this time, Whitebeard's displeased voice directly fired at Kaido. So this is what you, a scumbag, did. You made an ultimatum to Marine. With the persuasion of the Golden Lion and the Revolutionary Army, Whitebeard can accept this matter of joining forces. But Kaido acted on his own initiative, which made Whitebeard very unhappy. Even if it is inconvenient to do it now, Kaido will not be proud. Old man Whitebeard, Mr. Kaido is unwilling to conflict with Whitebeard in his heart, but with so many people around, he still wants to save face. HMPH, the Marineford War has just ended a few days ago. Instead of accumulating strength, instead of attracting Marine prematurely, you will forcibly gather us together. What do you want? Whitebeard returned to his peak. His attitude was tough enough, and he even made up his mind to take care of Kaido first if there was a chance, even if Xia En didn't show up. The Whitebeard pirates will never forget the revenge of killing their brother. In the past, Wano-kuni was difficult to climb, but now it is different in front of them. Newgate, well, the anger is still so big, now our target is Xia En, and we will trouble him after this matter is over. This matter was persuaded by Golden Lion, seeing that Whitebeard couldn't hold back, he immediately stood up to stop it. Kaido squinted his eyes and wanted to reply, but Bullet came to stop him. He could tell that Whitebeard was looking for a chance to make a move, if he hadn't been concerned about the people present. So after stopping Kaido, Bullet said, "We don't have enough time to recuperate, and Marine is the same. I think this is a good time." As a result, Whitebeard ignored Bullet at all, and picked up the wine and drank it on his own. Newgate, it's actually a great opportunity to make a mistake, as the kid said, using celestial dragons to face so many of us is bound to kill them. The Red Earl's shadow flickered and appeared beside Whitebeard, showing a rare smile among friends. Redfield. Whitebeard looked at him and chuckled. Don't worry about it, Xia En has grown up too fast, and if it drags on, the variables will be too big, maybe he won't be much stronger. The Red Earl sighed helplessly. That's a heaven-defying monster. The Red Earl's words touched many hearts. Although I don't agree with Kaido's arbitrariness, there is no doubt that Xia En's threat is growing day by day, and it is uncertain how much it will increase after time passes. This is already a fact in front of everyone, just as Zhang Zhezong is a guy who has been in Marine for less than half a year and has grown up to now. Whitebeard naturally understood that he and Kaido just now were just looking for a chance to make a move, and when he saw everyone maintaining peace, he was lazy to talk to him. If it weren't for Xia En's greater threat to his family, Whitebeard would have taken action long ago. That's a real monster. When everyone thought of Xia En, they couldn't help feeling a little palpitating. This is the only unstoppable, truly rising genius powerhouse, and it is also the reason for them to come together. It's also a good thing to start early. Monkey D. Dragon also stood up and said at this time, his eyes shifted to the 7 celestial dragons. If it wasn't for gathering such a huge force, how would they dare to attack the celestial dragons so unscrupulously? And this time, use 7 celestial dragons to threaten the world government, and exchange him for 7 celestial dragons. You can also drive a wedge between Xia En and the world government, even if it doesn't work. He will no longer work for the world government. Quote. Either way we have a chance to breathe. Monkey D. Dragon weighed the pros and cons. His words also made everyone present nod. It would be great if the world government really tied him up for exchange, ha 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 ha. Charlotte Linlin smiled. It was a terrifying smile that made people shudder. That is the best situation, but it is very slim. Xia En is not someone who can be caught without a fight. Besides, with his strength, what can be tied? Maybe we still have to fight. Fight every battle, and if he is alone, I don't believe that so many people present can't do anything to him. www. Everyone was talking about what might happen next and their excitement about destroying Xia En. There is no way, for these opposing forces of the world government, Xia En is like a sharp knife erected above their heads, not an ordinary threat. Because he is really too powerful. But at this time, a large group of people chatted without saying a word. Suddenly, the powerful Conqueror's haki swept like a hurricane. Above the sky, thunder can be seen flashing. Immediately, except for Whitebeard, Golden Lion and others, the strong men present immediately stood up and stared at the distance of the sea. This haki, red waste. Kaido gritted his teeth and snorted coldly. Didn't that guy refuse to deal with Xia En? What does he want to do now? Big Mom is a little confused, and the red hair is extended from a very far distance with Conqueror's haki. He wasn't close at all, but out of sight. Bullet was surprised that the former trainee crew had become so strong now. As far as this long-distance Conqueror's haki is concerned, no more than 2 people can be present, not even myself. Luffy was even more excited, knowing it was Shanks, and shouted loudly. Shanks, however, has no intention of communicating with Luffy. He stood on the red force far away, with a group of cadres behind him, looking at the outline of the island. Conqueror's haki takes the eye pupil as the source, and the red breath is constantly surging. Everyone, release the celestial dragons. If this continues, the situation will become unmanageable. It is not acceptable to deal with Xia En in this way. Shanks used haki as a medium to send the sound across a great distance, and it fell to the ears of the strong on the island. Shanks, is that interesting to you? Kaido gritted his teeth a bit. He felt that Shanks should take care of everything, especially since his affairs had been ruined more than once. Things are getting out of hand, Benudero, it's impossible to let celestial dragons go now. Bullet directly and loudly refused. Listen, you can't get involved in this matter, either come and join us, or hide away. Big Mom raised his head and laughed loudly. He may not attack you, but if you force him, the consequences will be disastrous. Shanks frowned, and continued the voice transmission. Is there any room for mediation? Xia En has become the fourth admiral, so powerful. If you wait any longer, do you want to see the pirates wiped out? Kaido is also unceremonious. The redhead was grilled over the fire, which was tantamount to asking which side he was on. We can't wait for him to get stronger, drag it down and take it one by one. At this time, even Marco spoke. Give him enough time, who can stand in the way of Xia En who is going down the road? Now there is no certain number of people to join forces and we are not sure, so can we wait? Also, who can guarantee that Xia En won't make a move? Katakuri, Yan and others also spoke out one after another. A series of obvious refusals made Shanks silent and speechless. Because there is really no guarantee that Xia En will not attack the entire era of great pirates. The turbulent Conqueror's hockey rewinds directly, and the red 4.8 sends Shanks to give up and continue to persuade the people on the island. It seems that another unstoppable war can only wait for Xia En to appear. Shanks sighed helplessly. These guys really think too simple, even if it is Xia En during the Marineford War, who can beat it? Beckman, Lakilu and others also shook their heads. I can only hope that the situation will not get too out of control, and let the whole world fall into a complete rampage. Shanks looked at the island and sighed helplessly. But on the island, Jian Hongfa gave up her persuasion and continued to wait. Whitebeard didn't care about the appearance of red hair at all, and just drank and ate meat to himself. A group of people from the Revolutionary Army surrounded him thoughtfully. Kaida Big Mom scoffs at the redhead's timidity. That's all. First day. The sea has been very calm. The spies of the Revolutionary Army and the pirates came to report, but Marine did not move, and everything was normal. The next day, the spies still told that the situation of naval headquarters was unknown, but no trace of Marine was found in the sea area. But the difference is that Doflamingo, Empress Hancock, Gecko Moria, and Hawkeye Mahawk all came separately. They didn't go to the island, but wore them on their respective boats. Seeing this group of Shichibukai, Kaido, Big Mom and others who cooperated with world government were very upset, and asked them what they were going to do and when Xia En would come. Doflamingo made it clear, we don't know if Xia En will come, we just heard the information and came to watch the battle. Chapter 93 Xia En is trapped in a cage formed by the fusion of many abilities. Advertise here. Humph. Shichibukai. It can be seen that people like Kaido and Big Mom are not interested in Shichibukai. If it weren't for the special situation and didn't want to cause extra problems, maybe someone would drive them away on the spot. 3 of the 4 emperors, plus the legendary pirate, such a huge lineup is to deal with Xia En. How can this kind of scene be missed? Hawkeye Mahawk folded his arms, and also had some expectations in his heart. However, the next day passed. The third day came. Kaido felt a little apprehensive. Isn't he really afraid to show up? It's not impossible. After all, Xia En is a peerless evildoer that the world government has never seen before. It may not be possible to tie it directly. 3 days is 3 days. If he doesn't show up, we'll kill the celestial dragons. With the passage of time, everyone couldn't help wondering whether Xia En would come or not. Kaido's face was even darker, standing on the shore and looking out. After 3 pulls in the sun, Charlotte Linlin looked at the time in surprise. Impossible, does the world government ignore celestial dragons? HMPH. I want to see if the world government really doesn't care. As Kaido said, he immediately strode towards the cross, and unleashed Yan's long knife. He couldn't help but want to kill a celestial dragons to demonstrate to the world government. Here we come. Marine is here. At this time, the exclamation of the spies came from the phone bug. They saw the arrival of warships on the distant sea. They're coming. Everyone present immediately cheered up and began to prepare. Not many times. Sure enough, several warships sailed from the distant sea. There are many marine soldiers standing on each warship. And the warship at the front is Sengoku, Garp, Tiantiantu and Xia En who are all shackled by seastone shackles. Kaido, Big Mom, Golden Lion and others couldn't help showing joy when they saw Xia En whose fingers were restricted by seastone. Sure enough, the world government is still handcuffing the geniuses and stars for the sake of the celestial dragons. Seeing that Xia En's situation met their expectations, they were so happy. At the same time, they didn't have the slightest carelessness, and immediately prepared for it. However, Sengoku, Garp, 3 Admiral and others had gloomy faces. Huh, that's right, Kaido's battle is really big. All you can see is Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Bullet, Red Earl, plus Kaido, Big Mom and their subordinates, a huge group of people. As far as this power is concerned, it is far superior to Marine in terms of military strength alone. But dignified is dignified, Sengoku, San Admiral, Garp and others did not panic, exchanged eyes with Xia En, and continued to move forward. The sea area, the islands, and the warships all fell into silence, and became a little tense as the distance approached. After staying at a certain distance, Sengoku said loudly, Xia En has been kidnapped by us. According to the agreement, you release the celestial dragons. In fact, The three admirals, Garp, Sengoku and others have not seen the celestial dragons, and the celestial dragons that were originally tied to the cross are not in place. Ha 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 ha. World government is very honest this time, but I don't think there is any need to worry, and it's Beilong Xia En, right? Kaido looked at Xia En with some complacency, feeling a little excited in his heart. Xia En was finally about to fall into their hands. At this time, Golden Lion smiled and moved his fingers. A black shadow in the sky descended rapidly, and finally stopped firmly on the ground. With a bang, it turned out to be a huge cage that fell from the sky. The hole is not dark, and the railings on all sides are not large, more like a big black iron cage. The appearance of the cage immediately made Big Mom, Kaido, Golden Lion and others smile inexplicably. To be precise, this cage was specially prepared for Xia En. It is jointly shaped by the fruit-capable users of the audience. Inorganic substances are combined with glutinous fruit and candy fruit, combined with various abilities, heated at high temperature, and finally poured into hockey to cast. It is a special cage carefully prepared by Kaido, Golden Lion, Bullet and others. Not only is it as simple as heat-resistant and resistant to manufacture, but even the vibration force of Whitebeard is difficult to cause damage to the above materials. That's it, it's even stronger than Impel Down's Seastone alloy, and it's more than 100 times stronger. Only such a cage can allow them to lock Xia En in with confidence. Put Xia En in a cage, and the celestial dragons will be released immediately. Golden Lion pointed at the dark cage and said with a sneer. And Xia En's expression can be said to have been kept complicated. It seems that he is unwilling, and it seems that he is not angry. After seeing the cage, his face is even more indifferent, as if he has accepted his fate. In the eyes of Golden Lion, Kaido and others, Xia En was disappointed with the world government. He couldn't help laughing in his heart, waiting for Marine to make a decision and send him to a specially prepared cage. Don't go too far. Sengoku can drop this, his eyelids twitch, and he knows that the meaning is not simple without thinking. Master Marshal, it's up to you to put him in a cage or not. We can't guarantee that those celestial dragons will still be intact. Kaido grinned grimly, not panicking at all. Hearing this, Akainu's body burst into flames, and he was very annoyed. Sengoku turned to look at Xia En. Seeing the still indifferent expression on his face, he suddenly thought about it and chose to do it, so he said in a deep voice, "Do as they say." Aokiji sighed, carried Xia En and fell into the sea. The water froze immediately, and then he brought Xia En to the door of the cage step by step. What a calculation, to threaten with celestial dragons. Before entering, Xia En still had the same look of resignation, and then went straight into the cage. Bang! As soon as a person entered, the door of the cage was immediately closed tightly, and a new layer of access control was formed on the outer layer to ensure the stability of the cage switch. Seeing that Xia En was really locked in the cage, Kaido, Golden Lion, Bullet, Big Mom and others, as well as Katakuri, Jin and others felt relieved. Although Xia En was covered with sea stones all over her body, including her fingers, she didn't feel at ease if she didn't go into the cage they prepared. Because Xia En's combat power is too perverted, and only in this way can they be assured. As for the other Marines, they have a large group of top powerhouses, and even the top Marines are not afraid of attacking in the slightest. Xia En could only look out through the narrow railings on all sides, and Xia En looked at the sea calmly. It should be all right now. Sengoku, San Admiral and the others all had very bad faces and said in a muffled voice. Ha 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 ha, of course, Kaido, Golden Lion, Bullet et al. Immediately, the Golden Lion's fingers moved slightly again, and the 7 celestial dragons roared and fell down. These 7 celestial dragons were kidnapped by Kaido, they were taken care of by the pirates, and they were sucked a lot of blood by the Red Earl. It can be said that they have suffered a lot in the past 3 days. After falling from the sky, the CPO took them up. As a result, as soon as they landed on the deck, the 7 emaciated celestial dragons immediately changed their appearance when they saw the people from Marine and World Government. Bastard! Why are you here now? These despicable low-class people dare to rob us and kidnap us. Destroy them all. Celestial dragons' anger reached hysteria, and they cursed loudly. Sengoku, the 3 admirals and others all stared straight ahead, and ignored them at all. What is your Marine's duty? It's to protect us. Why are you here now? And that Xia En, she didn't arrive until the 3rd day, is she trying to kill us all? They are all despicable inferiors. There is no hesitation in trading his life for us. You Marines, don't think about it. Celestial dragons cursed almost crazily, at Marine, at CPO, and at Xia En. They knew the request made by the pirates, but in the end they waited for 3 days, not to mention that they were abused and almost killed. So in the back, the anger was almost vented on Xia En in the cage. It's all because of this lowly Marine, and because of him alone. That's why we got caught by pirates. Kill them all. Quick, send us away. Then blow up the entire island. All die. The celestial dragons were afraid that they were quite frightened, and while cursing, they asked Marine to send them away first. The resentful eyes were not only on Kaido and others, but also on Xia En. However, Sengoku, the 3 admirals and others turned a blind eye to celestial dragons. They didn't turn their heads until they verbally insulted Xia En many times, and said, Master Celestial Dragons, you'd better not insult Xia En. What's wrong with scolding him? He is a pariah. What's wrong with exchanging his humble life for the noble blood of our celestial dragons? We were caught because of him. Those pirates and him are the culprits. I want to report to the 5 elders and execute all related people. The celestial dragons have gone crazy and lost their minds, and the marines who are hysterical look disgusted. These are the younger celestial dragons, who have long forgotten the 5 elders' previous warnings, and only think about Shaen En making them suffer like this. Until Sengoku said lightly, I think it is necessary to remind you that the person who came to save you with his own body is now the 6th star of the highest power. He is more noble than you. Immediately, the celestial dragons who were still clamoring became dumb. They stared wide-eyed and asked in shock, what are you talking about? The highest authority has added one, the 6th star besides the 5 elders, don't you understand? Sengoku is not afraid of these celestial dragons, his tone has become cold. If possible, he would rather these idiots die than let Shaen go into danger, and he would be scolded instead of saving them, which is really annoying. Impossible. Impossible. That bitch. I'm calling Mariajoy. The celestial dragons were almost stunned, their status was too high, and they subconsciously wanted to refute and curse, but in the end they didn't dare to speak out. This is what Marshal Marine himself said. What if it is true? On the other side, Kaido, Bullet, Golden Lion, Big Mom and others were all surprised when they heard that Shaen is now the 6th star. He's not celestial dragons, is he? Why is he the 6th star? It's terrible, Sengoku is not a person who talks nonsense. So what, now he is in our cage, he has to wait to die. I have to say that this news is very shocking. The power held by the highest power of the world government is not comparable to that of a single 4 emperors. But Shaen was also imprisoned in a special cage by them. With this step, besides the shock present, he felt at ease, thinking that they would get rid of Shaen in a while. The result is at this moment. 383. A muffled sound came from the cage. Seeing that the 7 celestial dragons had been released and boarded the warship, Shaen felt relieved. With a movement of the finger, the light of the magic light cannon lights up, instantly crushing the sea stone that sealed the finger. Reputed. It is the hardest material in the world. Under the power of the magic gun, there is no difference in hardness at all, and it shatters to pieces. The sound came out to the ears of the people outside, and it was a muffled sound. Not good. Bullet, Golden Lion, Red Earl, Kaido and others immediately became alert and surrounded them. After Shaen untied the sea stone in his hand, he immediately and easily destroyed all the seal-like sea stone shackles on his body. The light flickered, and the tinkling fragments fell on the cage king. Afterwards, Shaen fired a magic light-killing cannon, directly blasting towards the wall of the cage. Boom! The huge shock echoed in the cage, but Shaen's strong body was not affected. But to his surprise, the magical light-killing cannon, which has always easily pierced through any defense, even the sea stone, which is extremely vulnerable in front of it, did not blast through this cage. Seeing that Shaen didn't break through the cage, Kaido immediately laughed triumphantly, and the others were even more delighted when they saw this. Don't waste your time, Shaen. This is a special cage we built just for you. Golden Lion laughed and was very excited. Shaen can't break out of the cage, so she's completely safe now. People in the cage, there is nothing to worry about. After Marine left, I will start to solve it, and get rid of the big trouble in my heart. Shaen's actions and the failure of the magic glow cannon were clearly seen by the red-haired group watching from a distance. Shaen's went into the cage. The celestial dragons are released. Look, Shaen didn't break out of the cage. That cage is specially made, and it's extremely strong. On Red Force, the red-haired Shanks, Beckman, Lakiru, Usopp, Gabu and others all held binoculars and watched, exclaiming from time to time. Especially seeing that Shaen's attack had no effect, he was very surprised. The horror of his finger pistol has been witnessed by the whole world. This cage seems to be built with abilities in hockey. Shanks said very solemnly, if Shaen is really trapped in a cage, things will go to 2 extremes. Shaen is consumed alive, or these guys may continue to join forces to deal with the world government, and then there will be another big battle. Or, just disperse and the world restores its original balance. Faced with such a strong, purpose-built cage, will Shaen really be trapped in a cage? Chapter 94 Give the celestial dragons a big fight. All the strong are all shot. Advertise here. No, Marine's expression doesn't seem tense at all. At this time, Beckman frowned, and noticed Marine's expression with a telescope. Hey, really, boss, why are those Marines so calm? Shaen is locked in a cage. Usopp, Gabu and others were also very surprised when they saw it. Marine, not nervous at all. Things are not that simple, it seems that the Golden Lion, it is not so easy for them to trap Xia En. The red-haired Shanks already had a premonition in his heart. This guy has too many miraculous moves, and he just used finger pistol just now. Suddenly, Lakiru exclaimed, Boss, Shaen is gone. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, the figure that was originally in the cage disappeared directly. This caused everyone present to exclaim, where are people, what's going on? Kaido's heart trembled suddenly, and he said in disbelief. Just now he was standing in front of the cage, watching Shaen laugh loudly. Unexpectedly, the eyes did not respond, and the people inside disappeared. Are you invisible? Subconsciously thinking that Xia En is playing tricks, Quinn guessed. I think it is the eyes that confuse everyone, waiting for the cage to be opened to check and then run out. However, no one listened to what Kaido and Quinn said. They looked in the direction of Marine in shock, and their hair stood on end in shock. Xia En has already appeared in front of the celestial dragons. For a moment, the audience was so surprised that they lost their voices, and their pupils trembled. Kaido and Quinn looked back, their scalps were a little numb. How is it possible? How could he get out of the tight cage? Quinn screamed, because of the fear of Xia En, he backed up again and again, staggered and fell to the ground, breaking out in cold sweat. Golden Lion, Red Earl, and Bullet had even more serious eyes, watching Xia En very vigilantly. Teleportation. The Red Earl took a deep breath, he could only think of this kind of move to escape from the cage. Instantaneous movement regardless of barrier distance. Bullet said. Impossible, but the Pirate Alliance on the island already knew that this fight would be fought if not fought. In today's game, Xia En will not be allowed to leave anyway. At this time, all the members of the Whitebeard pirates hidden in the dark also appeared under the leadership of Whitebeard, all of them with solemn expressions. As expected of you, Xia En, you can even come out of such a cage. Whitebeard remained on guard and led his sons to the edge of the island. Undoubtedly, the situation for them, celestial dragons released, Xia En is not trapped, is already the worst situation. The surrounding pirates swallowed hard. They still missed it after all their calculations. Although the cage was hard enough, it couldn't trap Xia En. He walked in without any resistance just to trick them into releasing the celestial dragons. What's more, this hand moved in an instant, and the strange and shock from the bottom of my heart made it hard for people not to feel hairy. Because of such elusive moves, it is hard to even think about it on the battlefield. Also watching from the side, Hawkeye, Pirate Queen, Doflamingo and others were not involved. I was still surprised when I saw Xia En being escorted by Marine directly, but in the end I saw Xia En's magical manipulation again. Teleportation. This is really Xia En's style, which is unexpected. Nah, ha. Doflamingo was a little worried at first, but now it seems that there is no need to worry at all. He was very excited after being shocked. Looking at the smiling faces of all the Marines, it seemed that they knew this would happen a long time ago, and everything was planned. Including the facial expressions and behaviors that were pretending just now, they were all acted out for the pirates to see. The place Xia En looks at can be reached by teleportation. There is a hole to see the outside, and the cage is no different from the fake one. Of course, even if teleportation is impossible, Xia En is confident that it can be smashed directly. The magic penetration light cannon is indeed indestructible, but don't forget, this is only Xia En's weakest move. After teleporting, Xia En appeared directly in front of the 7 celestial dragons who were still stinking. The sudden appearance shocked the celestial dragons. They doubted Xia En's identity, but they didn't say anything yet. Xia En slapped each of them directly. Clap clap clap. The blow was not light, and everyone present could clearly see that the blood of the 7 ugly celestial dragons was directly splattered by Xia En's palm wind. One by one, they drew beautiful arcs and fell heavily to the side, rolling their eyes, their cheeks were red and swollen, and their mouths were full of blood. The Marines, including the CPO, watched Xia En beat them to half-life, and they all showed no expression. And the brains of these 7 celestial dragons from different families were buzzing, they were in severe pain and howling. After going back, wipe them all out, they should be sentenced to punishment, and they should be imprisoned backquote. A gleam of coldness flashed in Xia En's eyes, and she severely punished them for their cursing just now. Just being disrespectful to yourself is enough for 7 celestial dragons. Yes, the CPO respectfully obediently obeyed the order, and ordered those celestial dragons to be taken into custody. This attitude really made everyone stunned. What's going on? The celestial dragons are not supreme, and Marine should be, their subordinate. No, didn't you hear just now? Sengoku said that Xia En is now the 6th star. I thought it was a bluff, is it true? He is the highest authority. How is it possible? He is still so young. A large group of pirates on the island suddenly went into an uproar, and everyone couldn't believe it. It turned out to be true. At the age of 20, Xia En has become the supreme existence of the world government. 5 elders, Golden Lion, Red Earl, Whitebeard and others couldn't help but feel extremely dignified. It was really shocking to hear Sengoku mention it for the first time, and it was even more shocking when the facts happened in front of our eyes. It can be seen that the old man Garp shouted directly, "Good fight." With that hearty laugh, he didn't worry about being held accountable. In fact, not to mention Garp, even Sengoku Wong Admiral and others who stood aside were secretly happy. Celestial dragons now count as a nemesis. Domineering and lawlessness have always been synonymous with celestial dragons. Although Marine is a subordinate of celestial dragons and it is their duty to protect them, no Marine can feel at ease in the behavior of celestial dragons. Xia En's slap made the Marines on the warship let out a bad breath. Xia En Sheng. Xia En Sheng. Spare us. Spare us. Celestial dragons didn't understand anything, so they could only beg for mercy. Xia En, who became the 6th star, must have the identity of celestial dragons, and she is still a high-ranking existence. If she is brought back, the gang of the Knights of God will not show mercy. Doflamingo in Shichibukai sees Shishi laughing constantly, very crazy. Good fight. Good fight. These smug celestial dragons. Doflamingo has long hated the celestial dragons who impeached him and refused to reinstate him. After so many years of tossing, I just want to pull those celestial dragons down from the altar. But now, he felt that it would be nice to have someone like Xia En in Mariajoy, and the idiots of those families might not even be able to hold their heads up. People like Gecko Moria have been speechless for a long time, and they have been talking about the sixth star, and they have not been able to relieve the shock in their hearts, especially seeing Xia En punishing the celestial dragons without any scruples. Even the eagle-eyed Mahawk's eyes changed, but his expression remained the same, but his heart was turbulent. Sixth star. At this age, it is no different from becoming another kind of One Piece. Xia En is already less legendary than everyone in her cognition. On the other side, Hancock slightly opened his sexy mouth and covered his hands, feeling very surprised and even a little confused. He's not celestial dragons. But he can punish celestial dragons. The supreme authority that once made her fall into hell and made the world despair, was slapped half to death by Xia En, and even those celestial dragons knelt down and begged for mercy desperately. On the current warship, celestial dragons begged for mercy bitterly, with half of their face in displeasure, they knelt down and bowed to Xia En. The fear of punishment in the heart far outweighs the pain in the body. However, Xia En watched coldly, unmoved, and simply waved her hand. The CPO and several men in black locked the 7 celestial dragons without hesitation on the spot and pulled them into the cabin. The ear was cleared immediately, and Xia En turned to look at the pirate army on the island. Sengoku, Aokiji, Akainu, Kizaru, Garp and others also stood up one after another, watching those people on the shore. I'm well prepared this time, Kaido. When I tried to break the cage just now, I knew how fierce Kaido, Bullet and others are. That's why Xia En looked particularly cold when facing them this time. This gaze made Kaido's heart beat a little faster. But thinking of the large army behind him, he cheered up and looked fiercely at Xia En. It doesn't matter if you are the 6th star or admiral. Xia En, today is your death day. Kaido yelled, but in his heart he began to plan to fight. Because it has become the worst situation, there is no way. Who would have thought that Xia En possessed the ability of teleportation, and could not even be locked in a special cage? It seems that it is inevitable to do it. I failed to fight last time, Sengoku, and today is the same. Whitebeard sighed, leaning on a naginata, and slowly walked to the front, looking at Sengoku, Garp, and Xia En. The only people present that made him afraid were these 3 people. Seeing the majestic Whitebeard, Sengoku's eyes were serious, and he said with some surprise, your body has recovered. Newgate is not the only one recovering, let's fight. Garp, Sengoku, and you, Xia En. The Red Earl appeared beside Whitebeard in a flash, with a scarlet aura flashing from his body. Afterwards, Bullet, Golden Lion, Big Mom, Katakuri, Jin, and Marco were all ready to fight. What surprised the Marines even more was that a group of warriors with cloaks also appeared. The person in the lead is the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon. They know that it doesn't matter what tactics they use to fight Xia En, they must concentrate enough power to defeat him in one fell swoop. Otherwise, with his various miraculous and powerful moves, many people present would be overwhelmed. Bastard. Garp cursed and wanted to rush out. The 3rd Admiral saw Monkey D. Dragon appearing, and his complexion also became very ugly. But at this moment, Kaido, Bullet, Golden Lion and others know they can't wait any longer. Do it. Let's kill Xia En. Their only goal is to take down and kill Vice Admiral Xia En in Marine's lineup. Therefore, according to what was discussed at the beginning, there is no need to leave any room. Go all out. The group of pirates behind include Whitebeard Pirates, Golden Lions Flying Pirates, Big Mom Pirates, Germa 66, Beasts Pirates, Revolutionary Army. Warriors, Supernovas. All of a sudden, everyone made a move at the same time, and directly used the big move. Fire Punch. Phoenix Seal. Guard the Fire Dragon Emperor. Black Flash. All kinds of big moves that can be named but not named, bombarded Xia En's warship like raindrops in the sky. There are various attacks including on the sea. Comes with Hockey's cannon, Sharp Slash. Just with so many people working together, the sea has already set off a turbulent surge, and the world has changed into a brilliant color. The tens of thousands of pirates didn't hold back at all. Everyone got a good deal negotiated, and immediately fought frantically and with all their strength as soon as an order was given. This kind of scene is like the end of the world, all kinds of attacks gather together, it is earth-shattering. However, this is the first attack launched later. In front of him, Whitebeard's muscles surged, and he unleashed an unusually powerful punch, aiming at Dr. Xia En with his backhand. Atmospheric burst. The force of the violent vibrations tore apart the surface of the sea, and 2 huge waves of hundreds of meters were separated. The force of the vibration distorted the atmosphere and went straight to where Xia En was. Kaido directly turned into a dragon man, holding a mace, and standing next to him was a Big Mom. The 2 of them posed in the posture of the combined attack technique of the giants, standing parallel to each other, facing Changjin Langlang's weapon swing. Overlord. Lightning flashes. A purple shock wave erupts from the two finely crossed weapons, a combination move that is enough to destroy an entire island is followed by Whitebeard's shaking punch. This one alone is already bigger than a warship. Red Earl, Bullet, Golden Lion, and even Monkey D. Dragon have all been shot one after another. The scarlet slashing sword light followed a strange arc falling towards Chang'en's neck. Although it is not as powerful as others, the degree of danger is not low at all. The attacks of Bullet and Golden Lion are even more straightforward. The inorganic matter condenses into various sharp shapes. With a wave of Golden Lion's hand, the ability to control the inorganic matter breaks through the air. The sea area around the entire island was filled with the sound of these attacks, and the faces of the marine soldiers on the opposite side were all pale, and they couldn't help showing panic. Sengoku, Garp, 3 Admiral and others reacted with seriousness and palpitations at the same time. This kind of offensive is overwhelming and terrifying like never before. But just as they were about to take the celestial dragons and marines back, they found that Xia En was flying into the air, and was already heading towards the terrifying attack. Chapter 95 can't resist the attack of tens of thousands of people. You don't need to open it like this, do you? Advertise here. No, it's dangerous. Sengoku couldn't help but roared, and the steps under his feet were a meal. Can't hide his worried look. Horrible. Don't talk about quality, just talk about quantity. There are at least 10,000 attacks on the opposite side, and all of them are the kind with hockey. Even the visions of heaven and earth were stirred up, and there was a wave of air billowing up and down, and the overwhelming offensive even touched the skin. This kind of offensive is not comparable to when fighting in Marineford. Hawkeye Mahawk, Doflamingo and Hancock, these Shichibukai couldn't even stabilize their own boats, their faces were terrified and dignified. These guys are attacking with all their strength as soon as they come up, and they want to kill Xia En directly. Mahawk's sharp eyes trembled a little, and when he put himself into this situation, he found that he had no life at all. Those guys, are they crazy? Stay away. Doflamingo gritted his teeth, and immediately ordered Toripal, Diamante and others who were stunned behind them to evacuate. What a joke. This level of attack, even if it is not in the range, will be affected, and it is impossible to protect your subordinates with your own strength. On the other side, the red-haired group stabilized the boat, their eyes shocked. They are closer to the raging offensive. It is impossible for anyone to withstand such an attack. Rakiru, Gabu and other cadres bristled. Judging from their position, it looks like a torrent of destruction spanning tens of miles, rushing towards Xia En. Those offensives in the air, coupled with the impact of splitting the sea together, are simply beyond the strength of a single person. No one can handle it, even Xia En's full strength in Marineford can't hold it. Shanks watched Xia En rushing towards the torrent of destruction, and the time was shocking and complicated. He's a genius, but actually, don't deserve to die. But now they can't stop them from fighting, they can only watch helplessly. There is a great possibility that Xia En will be seriously injured, or even die on the spot. However, during the flight, Xia En didn't have a little bit of fear, but her gaze was firm and calm. Even facing such a combined offensive, Xia En was a little excited. I've reached this level, I guess few people will be able to threaten me in the future. Only 807 attacks like this can be fun. Not dodging or dodging, facing the invisible shock that came first, Xia En directly bumped into it with her body. This is the shock fruit ability that came first, split the sea, and distorted the atmosphere. Although invisible, like air, Whitebeard is well aware of his attacks. As a result, Xia En hit him with his body. In an instant, a strong shock wave erupted on Xia En's body, distorting his figure a bit. But Xia En couldn't feel that the shock fruit had effectively destroyed his body. Whitebeard's eyes changed slightly, and immediately froze again. Because, the attack of destruction by everyone has arrived. The next moment, all the attacks had come to a close point, and Xia En's eyes were already full of brilliant colors. Sword chi, gunfire, shock wave, various abilities. It has to be said that its earth-shattering power is really unfounded. Xia En even felt the slight trembling of his skin, indicating that these attacks have enough power to threaten him. That's right, I have to use some tricks. The 12 times realm king fist, open. Xia En spread out her arms, and a huge aura erupted. The raging flames rose, and in the chaotic space, the white flames shot straight into the sky. The terrifying aura even made everyone's hearts tremble in an instant. But at this time, there is no time for everyone to feel Xia En's almost invincible momentum. On the basis of 12 times World King Fist, Susanoo will start immediately. The orange-red light outlines the armored giant. This time it was even bigger, under the terrifying figure of hundreds of meters, Xia En was protected in it. Almost at the same time, the super attack torrent jointly launched by the pirates and the revolutionary army washed over Susanoo like a sloping waterfall. Zzz. Lightning is densely covered, and bright flames stir crazily from the collision. The atmosphere was twisting, bursts of explosions suddenly became one, and finally formed a huge fireball in Susanoo's chest. Everyone is watching intently, even if it is dazzling, they are not willing to let go of the details. The pirates want to see Xia En being breached and wiped out by the torrent. However, tens of thousands of pirates join forces to attack, even if each person's power is not great, but when they are connected together, the power is not as simple as adding up. And Xia En is still as strong as Susanoo. When all the attacks fell on Susanoo, when Kaido and Big Mom's combination attack, Monkey D Dragon's attack, Red Earl's slash, Golden Lion, Bullet's attack finally fell. Almost all the power hit the super fighting group flames caused by the collision. The waves under Susanoo's feet are stirred into a vortex, the splashed seawater is evaporated by the energy temperature, and the clouds above the head are torn apart. This is a scene that everyone present will never forget. After maintaining it for a few seconds, the fire broke out completely, and all kinds of lightning mixed with hockey completely submerged Susanoo. He can't resist. Amidst the turbulent environment, Lakilu swallowed, his voice trembling. In the offensive just now, Xia En was able to resist for several seconds before being submerged. And looking at this process, they were even a little shaken. The torrent of destruction that no one can resist, can Wanqian Xia En really resist? Shanks, Beckman and the others did not say a word, but concentrated on looking at the place where the fire exploded. Where the eruption happened, like a mushroom cloud rising into the sky with crackling lightning. Kaido, Bullet, Golden Lion, Big Mom and others watched this scene excitedly. The attack worked. It must be. With such terrifying power, it is no exaggeration to say that even the Red 10 continent has been pierced through. Xia En, Marines such as Sengoku, Garp, and 3 Admiral couldn't help but exclaim in horror. Such terrifying power drowned the illusory giant hundreds of meters away. Xia En, can he be okay? No one can think of the bright side. However, the billowing air waves scattered, the aftermath shock woke everyone up. At the same time, the power will pass, the fire will dim, and everything will gradually return to normal. Kaido turned into a giant dragon and stared at where Xia En was. He was excited, but he didn't dare to slack off. The location of the explosion gradually became clear, and the illusory giant with orange-red light slowly revealed. No. No way. Big Mom's heart skipped a beat, his voice trembling uncontrollably. Xia En's phantom giant is a defensive move, she has seen it from the live broadcast. It still exists, so it means that everyone's joint blow to destroy the torrent just now did not break Xia En's defense at all. Why is it still there? He resisted. Whitebeard frowned, staring very solemnly. In the gradually clear scene, Susanoo's complete appearance appears in it. It is still the giant standing upright, like floating in midair. Xia En was still standing on the forehead of the illusory giant, frowning slightly, looking at the body of the illusory giant under her feet. There was a crack in the chest that was hard to resist the attack at this time, like glass that was shattered by a single point, the crack spread to the head. The dense cracks are like lines, making the light even brighter. I still underestimated the power of everyone's joint eruption. It was a bit strong. Under the blessing of 12 times the Kaiwang fist, a crack was punched out. Xia En is not very satisfied, AGDF Ba. However, everyone present was deeply shocked at this moment. Unbelievable Kaido, Big Mom, Golden Lion, Red Earl and others, and even all the Alliance pirates who were surprised. We underestimated his strength. Whitebeard's heart was full of astonishment, and he couldn't help but lose his composure in a strong state of mind. This kind of offensive, if he and Roger join forces to go up to the top, they will either be seriously injured or die directly. But Xia En just left a gap in his defensive moves. How outrageous this is, what a powerful defense. How come? Big Mom and Kaido swallowed their throats, knowing how terrifying the earth-shattering attack just now was. This is an attack where everyone goes all out together. When such an attack lineup is compared to the Marineford battle, the scale and power are more than exaggerated several times. But Xia En still took it steadily, not even breaking the illusory giant. Even Kaido had the illusion that it was the same as the battle situation more than 10 days ago, and Xia En's defense couldn't be broken even by all means. However, in the shock of everyone, Golden Lion and Whitebeard reacted one after another, and then fell into an even greater shock, saying in disbelief, he has become stronger again. And it has become several times stronger. Quote. This is impossible. How is it possible? How many times stronger in a few days? Are you kidding me? Bullet growled stubbornly, unwilling to believe it. He understands that Xia En has really become much stronger, it is a fact. But he is more willing to believe that Xia En is already this strong. You get it. The monster we're facing. The Red Earl shook the umbrella sword in his hand, and began to mobilize his momentum after being surprised. Not convinced. Still not convinced. On the Marine side, however, it's the complete opposite. Seeing Xia En's intact appearance, only a lot of cracks were left on Susanoo, they immediately cheered. Master Xia En is invincible. Invincible. With one's own power, it is so powerful to overwhelm the earth-shattering attack released by so many pirates on the opposite side, and intercept all the power in front of oneself. Whether it was the CP troops or the Marine soldiers, after the shock, they all cheered excitedly, full of fanaticism. White Dragon Xia En, in their eyes is an invincible hero. Seeing this, Sengoku, Garp, San Admiral and other high-level executives breathed a sigh of relief. Xia En is fine, and really carried off the terrifying offensive forcefully. It's getting more and more pervert. I seem to understand why 5 elders made him the 6th star. Garp marveled how right the world government was to make Xia En the celestial dragons. As long as he was around, pirates would no longer be a threat at all. With such an earth-shattering torrent of attack, Logia would have been torn apart instantly. The power is even more terrifying than the mass explosion of explosive rocks. He used Susanoo to follow up. The gap between us and him is getting bigger and bigger. The same is true for the three admirals, who were amazed. And Sengoku watched with bright eyes, both happy and shocked. The evildoer who has grown up is really too strong. On the contrary, Xia En didn't feel much about the joint offensive he took this time. I just feel that these pirates are united with the Revolutionary Army, plus people from Germa 66 and other troops. The power is really good. At least physical resistance would be a little troublesome, and its power was close to planetary level. But, that's all. The power is good. Is this the attack you have prepared for 3 days? Xia En waved, and Susanoo also waved, dispelling some of the smoke around her body, and at the same time praised lightly. Seriousness and dignifiedness are all good. It may make people like Kaido and Bullet feel better, because there is no threat to Xia En in the first place. But it happened to be indifferent, as if he didn't take it to heart, which immediately irritated Bullet, Kaido, and Golden Lion. Kaido was dissatisfied and wanted to scold, but he didn't know what to say, so he stopped. Fortunately, at this time Big Mom shouted loudly, "Everyone, don't be discouraged. Continue to do another round." Although it was a shot with all its strength, not everyone present was the strongest move. Such a shout also attracted the approval of many people. He can resist one blow, but it is impossible to resist the second and third blows. My physical strength can be released 3 times. Everyone keep attacking him. He can't carry them all. One person started to shout, and under the chain reaction, more and more pirates responded, and they wanted to continue attacking. This is also because such a powerful offensive that destroyed the world and even caused chaos in the world did not completely break Xia En's defense. The pirates who lick blood at the edge of their knife will naturally not give up easily, and they are all very unconvinced. Get ready to attack. Come again. The Golden Lion rose far away and shouted to everyone below. Thinking of a group of idiots, if you have that thought, hurry up and prepare to release the attack. What are you doing shouting and shouting? But they are all from various forces, so there is no such unity. Bullet, Kaido, Red Earl, Whitebeard, Monkey D. Dragon and Big Mom and other top powerhouses immediately took the lead and released the second round of attacks. Xia En shook her head slightly, the crack on Susanoo's body healed quickly. Do you really think you are a piece of wood, standing still and waiting for them to attack one after another? So he smiled slightly and said, I won't play with you anymore. It's still a little stressful to play a dozen of 20,000 to 30,000. As soon as the words fell, the aura of the Realm King fist on his body changed, and his whole body shone with a silvery white luster. Chapter 96 Instant kill all the way. One-sided crushing. Xia En's terrifying gesture. Advertise here. The eyes became more and more cold, without fluctuation. The hair flew up, and the light silvery white covered Xia En's whole body. Extremely comfortable. To say that the combat state can improve Xia En the most, it is this super magic skill from the world of Dragon Ball. As soon as she entered the state of free and extreme intention, with her silver hair flying, Xia En's posture was obviously more ferocious and violent than before. The invisible fluctuations spread to the audience, causing the faces of the already shocked pirates to change dramatically. Each of Xia En's abilities is very familiar, and she knows how scary it is, and now it is even more frightening. That's right, trembling. He is more than a little bit stronger. The Red Earl immediately turned into a shadow and disappeared in place, leaving behind a horrified sound. Seeing that Xia En is turned on and still stays in place, they are all idiots. What's more, it's stronger than the time in Marineford, I don't know how many times. Quick. Legion of capable users. Attack. Kaido was in a hurry and ordered the subordinates behind him repeatedly. A group of man-made demon fruit powers immediately activated their own abilities, either throwing them with power, or having energy cannons, gathered into a line and attacked Xia En. Big Mom Golden Lion and the subordinates of the Whitebeard pirates also followed suit. But Xia En hadn't planned to play with them slowly for a long time. When he raised his hand, there was a burst of magic guns and light-killing cannons. The bright and harsh light reflected on the faces of Kaido, Charlotte Linlin, Golden Lion, Bullet and others, and everyone was shocked at this moment. Xia En's finger pistol was different. Although it was still a small one, the speed was so fast that everyone couldn't react. It seemed to be just a shot, but when Kaido and Charlotte Linlin reacted from 100, strips of laser light scattered from Xia En's finger towards the Legion lineup layer behind him. The first thing to lock in is the man-made demon fruit powers that Kaido has painstakingly built. Have you ever seen the rain-like magic light cannon? The beast's pirates see it, and it's still over their heads. The various attacks they released before were as fragile as a piece of paper, and they were instantly lost, and the countless magic light cannons destroyed them. Bullet, the Red Earl, Kaido, Charlotte Linlin, and even Monkey D. Dragon, the supernovas, all of them felt their scalps go numb, and it was too late to shout. Call out. The continuous magic light-killing cannons took the lead in piercing Kaido's thousands of able-bodied legions through the chest. Without exception. Regardless of whether they were trying their best to dodge or were scared to death, all of them were accurately hit, and they were all locked in front of the absolute field of ultra instinct at this moment, and lost the perception of observation hockey. Kaido turned his head back in horror. His eyes were all pierced by his subordinates, who were immediately bombarded by the magic gun that shot into the ground, and Kaido's eyes were filled with blood. Even the flames of the explosion turned into blood. Before Kaido had time to shout out, the terrifying air wave, magic gun, light-killing cannon cluster exploded from the impact. Billowing smoke and dust engulfed him, as did Big Mom, Bullet, Whitebeard and others. However, Xia En watched the crowd below the island produce flames and explosions without any fluctuations, and even using so many magic guns to kill them was nothing to him. Therefore, when the first explosion wave rolled away, causing great chaos to the crowd below, and at the same time, another big wave of magic gun light-killing cannons slanted down. Even if Xia En wants to, with a backhand, the island will be sunk, like some Sky Laser group in Vegapunk. It's just that Ultimate's control is now aimed at the Marine Alliance army below. The second wave of magic light-killing cannons is aimed at everyone else, including Whitebeard, Golden Lion and so on. Whether it's the Whitebeard Pirates Big Ship Group, or the Revolutionary Army, or the Big Mom Pirates, Germa's Legion, the Flying Pirates. Run! Golden Lion roared with his eyes wide open, and took the lead in using his ability to lift up the mountains behind the island, and threw them towards Xia En's place. He tried to block Xia En's cluster of magic light-killing cannons. Shoot! Whitebeard knows that hiding is impossible. If it was possible, how could the army of beasts who were submerged in the flames be killed by the cave ministers all at once? Counterattack is the best defense. So it can be seen that the atmosphere was torn apart by Whitebeard's punch, and the force of the vibration that rolled away made the space seem to be distorted. Bullet, Big Mom and others realized that it was too late to make a move. The result is that the mountain pulled out by Golden Lion didn't hold up even for a second, and was directly torn into pieces, and the clusters of magic guns and light-killing cannons like raindrops remained undiminished. Even more than the first wave. Whitebeard's shaking fist didn't play a blocking role, even the shaking would be pierced. Marco, Vista, Yizang, including Katakuri, Perospero, Jin, Quinn and others could not help but tremble. Wherever the eyes go, there is the light of Xia En's magic gun, and they themselves cannot escape the attack of the light cannon. Boom! Amidst the continuous roar, tens of thousands of pirates and allied forces of the Revolutionary Army were spared, and everyone was pierced in an instant. Immediately, the beam exploded, blowing everyone in it to the ground. Even the Marines in the distance can see that the broken limbs just flew out and smoked. Kong, Sengoku, Garp, the three admirals, and even Shichibukai, the red-haired group who watched the battle all felt their scalps go numb. Xia En went crazy. Doflamingo gasped, pupils trembling. Not fast enough, not strong enough. Those pirates above the cadres can only watch their own people being overwhelmed by Xia En's offensive, unable to do anything. He's fighting fire with fire. Although the red-haired Shanks couldn't bear to see such a scene, he also knew that Xia En was just paying back. Just like before the pirates teamed up to attack and destroy the torrent impact, Xia En only attacked by one person, but the beams are dense, which looks even more terrifying. Lacey Rubin had the shadow of being almost killed by Xia En, and now his jaw was shaking, and he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Others looked similarly. Among the islands, a huge fire shrouded the sky, and the impact of the air waves caused the waves on the sea surface to stir up circular waves and spread them in all directions. Xia En watched indifferently, moving her eyes left and right, grasping the traces of Whitebeard, Bullet, Kaido and other strong men. These guys actually wanted to get together to resist in the aftermath. The light gradually weakened, and everything on the battlefield appeared in front of everyone's eyes. I saw large pits on the ground of the island, one after another, as if they had been bombed by missiles, and none of the letters were intact. Among them, all the coalition forces were killed and wounded. Some people were still angry and wailing, but their legs were all blown away. Someone just stood motionless on the ground, with blood oozing from the cracked skin. The purgatory-like scene shocked the spectators and those gray-faced, emerging pirate powerhouses. How come? Charlotte Linlin, Kaido, Bullet, Golden Lion and others were horrified, their hands were trembling. All of my subordinates are gone, just for a moment. Although there are still many people alive on the field, some dead, and some disabled, almost all of them have lost their fighting power. Kaido felt unspeakable heartache for the first time, his legion of capable users was completely destroyed, and even Fuzifu, who was still watching Flying Six Cells, stared directly, his whole body was dark and lost his breath. And Big Mom's hoarse roar can't hide the fear in his eyes at all. She saw that many of her cadres were out of breath, and even a few of the ministers were broken, leaving only a bloody hole on their bodies. The same is true for Whitebeard, he saw that several captains of the big fleet lost their breath, and the rest were either injured or disabled. Just like that Skyad who once stabbed him and cried bitterly, now even the weapon is broken in his hand, and that hand is more than 10 meters away from his body. The bloody and frightening scene made even his heart tremble. This is Xia En who takes action seriously, this is the best in the world without words. With just one move of the magic gun light-killing cannon, they completely defeated their proud coalition forces, and they were killed and wounded. Horrible. Looking at the situation on the scene, Hancock held his forehead weakly, unbelievable. Doflamingo and his cadres collapsed on the deck, shocked to the point of being speechless. No, those are all masters. The pirate forces in New World were directly removed by 80%. Even the cadres of all the pirate groups have been folded. Tens of thousands of beams, how did he do it? Mahawk will not mourn the death of the weak, but what shocked him was Xia En in the air. Even the cadres can't stand it. In addition to Marco, Jin, and Katakori's level, people like Izo, Jack Cracker and others are all seriously injured. Whitebeard felt an invincible sense of astonishment, looking dumbfounded at this scene, he couldn't even raise his anger. Because together with him, everyone including Golden Lion, Kaido, Bullet, Red Earl and others who are confident fully understand Zero. Xia En is an invincible existence. It is no longer the absolute suppression that the Marineford War can compare to. For example, the magic light cannon that can directly penetrate even vibrations. Now that it is fired casually, the terrifying penetration and attack speed can almost catch up with that of Marlin Mengduo. Red Dragon. Xia En's casual strike of the magic light cannon really caught up with Yi Gai's power in terms of penetration. Not to mention the countless random blows just now. If you see him normally, you will scare him silly. What else is there to fight? Golden Lion Shiki didn't care about the lives of his subordinates at all, but now he saw that the enraged Zhang En was so strong that it was desperate. Even though these peak powerhouses were able to avoid the frontal penetration of the magic gun light killing cannon, they were still shocked with blood surging all over their bodies. If I didn't hide myself in time, I'm afraid I will be injured by the aftermath. Whitebeard, Kaido, Charlotte Linlin, Red Earl, which one is better? It's a blessing that I didn't get seriously injured. Golden Lion looked up at Xia En with some horror, and found that the silver-white figure in the sky didn't seem to have changed in any way, and his mentality began to collapse immediately. We are not at the same level as him. We lost. Already lost. Injuring everyone seriously and still looking as if nothing had happened, Golden Lion knows without thinking that Xia En still has strong physical strength. This conspiracy against Xia En is nothing short of a joke. Of course, Golden Lion wasn't the only one whose mentality collapsed. At this time, Monkey D. Dragon was pulling the injured Luffy, Sabo eyes full of horror and fear. Almost, his son and the chief of staff were directly killed. Mori, can you still move? Monkey D. Dragon found the Western Army with a pierced chest. Sergeant Major Mori, thanks to his being a giant, was not directly bombarded to death by the light cannon. Mori was covered in cold sweat and tears were streaming down his face, but he still nodded heavily. He knew that the leader and his companions needed his push-fruit ability. Seeing Mori nodding, Monkey D. Dragon quickly transferred all the wounded including Luffy. Ivankov cried and said that Lightning was dead, Gambling disabled. But Monkey D. Dragon suppressed the throbbing in his heart, and said without hesitation, "Go. I will buy you time." Now is not the time to be sad. In his heart, preserving the lives of the remaining people is the most important thing, and secondly, he also attributes the responsibility to his own decision-making. It was his decision to bring people that led to such consequences. Xia En 5.0 is a truly terrifying existence. It cannot be defeated by simply piling up numbers. It's just that Long understood this truth a little late. But he was the one who arranged for his own people to flee the fastest in the field, because the person who was frightened in turn had already slipped away. In Supernova, Hawkins watched his scapegoat fall to the ground, Wei Du almost flew off. He came here because he was obviously fine in the divination, but now, no matter what the card is, if he stays, he will lose. Apart from anything else, he didn't even care about his subordinates, so he pulled his legs and evacuated. He thought that he was a small person, and a godlike existence in the sky would not care. Not many meters after I ran out, there was a sudden sound of footsteps, and I saw Kid, Kira, Drake X, Trafalgar and others all fleeing towards this side. They didn't have Hawkins' scapegoat, and they all suffered heavy injuries, and blood kept pouring out from the pierced wounds when they ran. But they didn't care about it, and ran away in one go. This guy is horrible. He's a god. He's a god. While running, Apu was still screaming wildly. Shut up. What's your name? You want to die. Trafalgar wanted to gag his mouth, and after finishing speaking, he looked back in shock. A few of them were the first choice to end the escape, but Morn's eyes didn't come to them. Instead, they looked at the top powerhouse, Golden Lion Shiki. Apparently the current Shiki has lost his will to fight, and being stared at by Xia En, he is slowly backing away with frightened eyes. Newgate, Linlin, pray for yourselves, everyone. Shiki turned his head, and immediately turned and ran away without hesitation. Chapter 97. Soul Coercion at Full Power. It's over, the era of great pirates. Advertise here. Marco. Take everyone away. Seeing this, Whitebeard immediately turned around and gave orders to Marco. Hearing his father's voice, Marco, who was helping everyone, immediately called for everyone to retreat. He has the flame of the phoenix, even if he is injured by Xia En, he can control the degree of bleeding. Although he can't heal, he is also one of the people in the best condition, and he can distribute the flame of the phoenix to others. So except for the people who couldn't move, the Whitebeard pirates evacuated faster than the others, and left quickly with one supporting the other. Withdraw. All who can go. Charlotte Linlin reacted and pulled Katakori, Perospero and others. But almost all members of the Big Mom pirate group were severely injured, even Cracker was gone, and it was very difficult to escape almost. Anyone who gets caught himself, consider himself unlucky. Bullet clenched his back molars tightly, and ran in the other direction, his previous confidence had long since turned into great fear. This fragile alliance, under the suppression of absolute power, all fled in all directions. The Red Earl had already turned into a large number of bats and disappeared in place. As for Kaido, with cold sweat on his head, seeing his army of capable users completely wiped out, Jin, Quinn and others suffered heavy injuries, and immediately turned into a huge green dragon, stepping on the flame cloud, and quickly walked in the opposite direction of Golden Lion get away. The flame cloud under his feet was about to smoke, for fear that Xia En would be the first to stare at him. They ran away. Kong, Sengoku, and the three admirals were all excited to watch, but they didn't expect this group of pirates to be emboldened by Xia En. They all scattered. If you chase like this, it is very likely that some of them will run away. Aokiji was ready to pursue, but frowned slightly when he saw the direction they were fleeing from. Golden Lion, Whitebeard and the others won't panic completely. Knowing the gap with Xia En, they subconsciously disperse, and whoever is caught up will consider themselves unlucky. Sengoku knew at a glance what Whitebeard and the others were thinking. It's just that they seem to have forgotten that Xia En has a teleportation move, they can't escape. However, Xia En stood in the air and did not panic when everyone from Golden Lion flew away to the bottom of 06 fled in all directions. Originally, the 10-mile radius was covered by the Ultra Instinct, but now that it has been upgraded, the range has been increased by at least 6 or 7 times, and it is still impossible for the Golden Lion to escape from its own control even if it flies first. But there is no plan to use teleportation either. You have put up such a big conspiracy here, isn't it just to get rid of me? Why did you escape after just one move? But since I came here in person, I want to catch all of you, otherwise it will be a waste of time. Xia En slowly closed her eyes, saying that she wanted to catch them all, but she didn't move at all. The red-haired Shanks and the Shichibukai were all tossed about in the wind. They were surprised to see the pirates fleeing farther and farther away. They could even see someone paddling a raft against the waves on the side islands and leaving without looking back. No. It's not that simple. Since he said he wants to catch everything, he can't leave. But, what is he going to do? Beckman had a bad premonition in his heart. What the hell is Xia En doing? Why didn't he stop it? Could it be a new move? Lakiru, Usopp's eyes widened, waiting for how Xia En would catch them all. Marine, Xia En. The red-haired Shanks was extremely complicated, and actually didn't want all of these people to be caught by Marine. But his original purpose was to stop the war, but in the end he couldn't do anything. Xia En is too strong. If he uses the teleportation move, maybe he can catch them all. Therefore, Shanks wants to persuade Whitebeard to buy time. But at this moment, a strong sense of crisis spread all over his body, and his hair stood on end in an instant. This is locked by Xia En. Shanks felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and he didn't dare to move easily. But if he dared to interfere, the attack might fall on him. Suddenly, a faint hum came. Shanks, and everyone present will never forget, a scene far beyond the previous fear appeared. Xia En suddenly opened her eyes, and the soul deterrence broke out directly. The invisible fluctuations spread in an instant, violently suppressing everyone fleeing below. Under this terrifying power enough to affect reality, the seawater exploded in a large area and turned into water mist. The island was torn apart by a violent earthquake. The devastated ground is cracked, the landslides are cracked. And those who escaped directly felt the shock from the soul, their brains shut down, and their hearts seemed to stop beating at that moment. Marco's captains, Jin, Quinn, Jack and the cadres of the Revolutionary Army, Katakuri, Perospero, and even all the existences below the Emperor's level couldn't hold on for a second. The endless fear in their souls made them unbearable, and they all passed out. Following the trembling of the island, their bodies fell heavily to the ground, unable to utter a sound. This is true whether it is a supernova, or the cadres of each regiment, including Mori, who has the ability to push fruit underground, and others. What a terrifying scene, a large number of people collapsed at the same time, unconscious. The red-haired group and the Shichibukai were dumbfounded, and even they could feel the endless fear occupying their souls, chills all over their bodies, and trembling with fear. What's even more shocking is that there are 7 top players: Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, Bullet, Red Earl, and Monkey D. Dragon. Legendary characters, the 4 emperors also cannot escape the suppression of being deterred by the soul. Although they didn't go into a coma directly, they could even use the Conqueror's haki to resist their subconscious use, but as a result, they seemed to be hit by a meteor in their souls. Golden Lion Shiki flew the fastest in the sky, thought he had the best chance to stay away, but he could feel the tremor of that soul, he lost his ability to control and stopped. Immediately, his own Conqueror's haki collapsed directly, suffered an invisible heavy blow and violently vomited blood, and fell heavily on the edge of the island, almost falling directly into the sea water. The continuous and violent suppressing breath made the soul unstoppable to radiate fear, as if a great terror was about to kill him. This made Golden Lion completely unable to control his emotions until he collapsed, lying on the ground weakly, with terrified eyes out of focus. You know, Golden Lion Shiki is one of the strongest people, even him. Kaido, Big Mom and even Bullet are even more miserable. Kaido in the blue dragon form was directly compressed back to the human form, and a large amount of blood flowed from the mouth and nose. Clutching his head, he felt the constant threat to his soul, as if the fear of falling into the abyss made him howl uncontrollably. Big Mom never expected that Xia En would use this method to suppress all of them. The deterrence from the strong impact makes the soul tremble, fear. Especially since she is still a soul fruit-capable person, she can feel the great terror from the deepest level. If other people faced Xia En's soul deterrence, it was like being hit by a meteor, vomiting blood and terrified after being hit hard. Then she seems to have seen the real god. The figure standing in the void exudes soul fluctuations that only she can see. It seems that Xia En only needs one thought, and she will sacrifice without hesitation, without any resistance. Soul, soul, it's the soul. Big Mom's fat body fell to the ground. Homie's on her body was melting. She tried her best to raise her bloodshot eyes to look at Xia En. Her voice became smaller and smaller. But gradually, under the continuous coercion and the greater shock than ordinary people, Big Mom's 7 orifices are bleeding, and the fear in his heart has reached ultimate. However, her whispers were not heard by others, and her ministers, generals and stars were lying around, and gradually distanced themselves from each other as the island fell apart. Even the Red Earl didn't leave very far at this time. He knew that Xia En's method would be sharp if he wanted to keep everyone in one go, but he didn't expect that, all of them are so powerful. The soul deterrence came, and the Red Earl suddenly turned pale, blood gushed out of his mouth, and his throat was burning. He tried his best to look back at the supreme existence in the sky. Fear and horror occupied his whole body. Then under the constant pressure of the soul, the vitality brought by the bat fruit to restore youth is fading, and the old age gradually makes it more difficult for him to breathe. He will faint at any time. On the other hand, Conqueror's haki is not as powerful as others. Bullet just felt the unparalleled terror in his soul. At the moment of being hit hard by the soul, the internal organs surged, and a mouthful of blood spurted out, making one's hair stand on end. But then, none of them could move, and they couldn't escape if they wanted to. They either covered their heads and howled, or broke down emotionally, or looked up at Xia En and whispered softly. This is the ultimate suppression that the soul coercion gave to each of them, making the top powerhouses lose their combat effectiveness and unable to continue to act. However, even the Marines could feel the endless terror of the soul threat that shrouded the audience. The Shichibukai and the red-haired Shanks who were not involved were all dumbfounded. What exactly is this? Shanks, Beckman and the others were all dumbfounded. Although they were not enveloped by it, they were not shocked by it. Shockingly, none of Whitebeard, Golden Lion, and Red Earl survived. The others fell down in a big plop, and no one was spared. Sure enough, he said he wanted to catch them all, and he really did. No one can escape. Beckman was so shocked that the Pirate Alliance was defeated, and the defeat was very thorough. From the moment they hijacked the Celestial Dragons and threatened to hand over Xia En, they were doomed. To be invincible with an incomprehensible existence is the most stupid act. Xia En standing in the sky, like a real god descending, made everyone lose the will to fight. The red-haired group, who have always strived for balance, now saw nothing but incomparable complexity besides the shock. But Doflamingo and his men stayed on the deck of the ship in a daze, unable to speak for a long time. Kaido, the man who once made him fear, and those men who stood at the top of the pirates, all fell down. In this battlefield, there are tens of thousands of elite pirates and a large number of capable people. No one can resist, let alone stand intact in front of Xia En. The power far surpassing Conqueror's haki directly suppressed the audience, and Doflamingo was extremely frenzied. He is the one who can subvert the Celestial Dragons. Doflamingo thinks at this moment that even the king behind the Celestial Dragons will bow before this man. This is truly invincible. No wonder, the higher-ups will directly make him the 6th star. If 713 wants to use such a trick directly on Mariajoy, everyone will fall down in a single thought. Horrible. Shichibukai like Hancock, Hawkeye, Mahawk, etc. have lost expression management, their mouths are tongue-tied, and their whole bodies are trembling slightly. There is no way to describe the shock at this moment. This is undeniably shocking to everyone. It overturned the previous cognition and exceeded the definition of invincible and powerful. Those big pirates and top powerhouses who stirred up the situation of the times and made everyone in the world fear, let Xia En suppress them all with just one look. A performance beyond Conqueror's haki that none of them can comprehend. Just understand from the breath, this is a blow from the depths of the soul. And Xia En was still standing at the original position, quietly watching all the injured people in the air, her eyes did not fluctuate in the operation of the Ultra Instinct. As if it should be. Simply surpassing the strength of this planet, it would be strange if the so-called Four Emperors legend could not be suppressed. Therefore, all those who escaped were severely injured, the Emperor who passed out, and Whitebeard, the Red Earl, and the Gold. The Lion and others were all gone. Xia En restrained her soul deterrence, Susanoo dissipated, and the silver faded away, making everything calm. The collapse of the island also stopped, and only the 7 of them gasped on the huge dilapidated island. Even if there is no soul suppression, Golden Lion, Bullet, Kaido and others have already lost the will to escape, and their eyes have become gloomy. Even Big Mom, a soul fruit-capable user, still has symptoms of insanity, and even knelt down to Xia En. An obese old woman, weak in body, insisted on kneeling, her eyes out of focus. It's troublesome. Xia En also didn't expect that soul deterrence would have such a big influence on the Big Mom of soul fruit ability users. So he turned around and asked Sengoku, 3 Admiral and other Marines to clean up the battlefield, while he returned to the warship to educate the Celestial Dragons. Sengoku, Aokiji, Kizaru, Akainu, including Kong, Garp and others are still amazed. This soul coercion is too strong, too outrageous. I would even believe that Xia En is the reincarnation of a god. In my opinion, the gap between us and it is too great. I don't think there has been such a powerful existence in the entire world throughout history. 11. Never, or, Xia En has broken our definition of the strong, we have always been the weakest. Thinking of Xia En who just joined the army and trained as a recruit to now suppressing everyone with soul coercion, their expressions are very complicated. Chapter 98 Paper Arts Evolution Kamui. Boros. The dark matter pirates emerge. Advertise here. Xia En couldn't help feeling a little bit emotional at the moment to catch all the fierce people from the pirate era, including the old era. When I came to this world, I was destined to be invincible with systematic help. I never thought that I would stand at the real peak so soon. It's a pity that these achievements can no longer make Xia En feel the excitement at the beginning. And on the battleship, the defeat of the pirates made Marine cheer and excited. The shouts merged into one, deafening, and the Marines were all shouting, Xia En. Today's war has extraordinary significance. For the whole world, it is a new beginning for the long-standing era of great pirates. Because the group of big pirates who supported the era of pirates have all been defeated, and they are escorting them to the warship without leaving behind. But because there were too many people, Sengoku and the three admiral even continued to mobilize more warships to the Marineford headquarters to escort them. Today's battle is not only shocking, but also the opening of a new era. Kong saw the living pirates being escorted onto the ship one after another, and his heart was full of pride. Starting today, other pirates on the sea will be worried. If you want to continue to be a pirate, you must consider it. Marine will also wipe out the era of great pirates without any scruples. Now the sea can be completely peaceful. Sengoku, Garp, San Admiral and others were also extremely excited, and the smiles on their faces could not be restrained. Those pirates that emerge endlessly like stars will be completely suppressed, and even the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Sergeant Major, General Staff and others will be defeated and taken into custody. There is no doubt that the world government has removed the two biggest threats, and the era of Marines has come. All of this is due to the merits of Xia En. Without his unparalleled strength, the era of pirates would not end here. Kizaru is very proud in his heart, he feels that he is Xia En's master, and he is honored. Originally Xia En was my recruit, and I was his teacher. Little did they know, Garp was watching sourly from the side. It's different today, you guys, you can't call me a kid anymore. Xia En now has the identity of the Celestial Dragons, and is the highest 6th star, and has the power to control the life and death of the Celestial Dragons, her status is honorable. Seeing these juniors talking one by one, Kong couldn't help but reminded him from the side. Yes, Marshal Kong. Kizaru pretended to be obedient, but he couldn't restrain the smile on his face, thinking that in the future, he would be able to enjoy a comfortable retirement life. However, at this time, the 7 looked downcast, and the 7 people, who looked like bereaved dogs, were solemnly escorted onto the ship. It is Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Red Earl and other 7 top powerhouses. They also saw Marine's carnival, and heard the words of Sengoku and others, and sighed in silence. The era of pirates has come to an end. Whitebeard felt ashamed. Although Marine didn't kill all of them, there is no difference between being detained in a cell and being dead. But one thing is, he is convinced when he is defeated by Xia En's crushing strength, that kind of absolute strength, even if he refuses to accept it. I want to see Xia En. I want to see him. He is a god. Big Mom is not really crazy, but it seems that he has some kind of obsession and keeps talking about it. Soul deterrence gave her some sort of permanent improvement, but alas, Xia En had no interest in meeting a fanatical and fat old woman. Marines such as Sengoku, Garp, and 3 admirals did not humiliate the defeated powerhouses, and silently waved for them to be taken down. Although they lost, they were not wrong by Xia En's hands. The era of pirates is over, so there is no need to fight for the advantage of words. At the same time, Garp saw the 3 brothers who were being sent on board at this time, and turned around to find Xia En to intercede. Xia En was sitting on a luxurious seat in the cabin, waiting for the deposit to be completed and the system rewards to arrive in the account. Ace, Luffy, and Sabo are for you. Seeing Garp come in to intercede, he nodded in agreement without thinking about it. With my current height, there is no need to worry about these small problems. Whether it is Luffy or Ace, they are not a threat, but they can be regarded as giving love to the world of pirates in my heart. Xia En let go of the 3 children. Garp was so excited that he couldn't even express his thanks, and then he left happily. Not long after, Xia En, who closed her eyes and rested, heard the system's prompt and immersed herself in the sea of consciousness. Ding, congratulations to host for successfully completing the task and getting an all-round improvement, 1000% reward from the original base. Suddenly, the mysterious power guided by the system poured into Xia En's body out of thin air. The soul, the body, all undergo amazing upgrades. 1000%, this is an unimaginable multiple, especially based on Junan's current strength. Terrifying energy continued to grow in Xia En's body. Open black lens bracket extreme training system close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket host. Xia En close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket comprehensive value, 50,000. Close black lens bracket. Skill, Magic penetration light cannon 8800%. Attack power. Cosmic level. Close black lens bracket. Skill. Dancing Kongshu 8600%. Agility. Universe class. Close black lens bracket. Skill. Susanoo 8300%. Defensive power. Emperor level attack power. Cosmic level. Close black lens bracket. Skill. Realm King Fist 9000%. Consume stamina for all-round improvement. Close black lens bracket. Skill. Night Guy 8800%. Attack power. Cosmic level. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket skill. Freedom of mind 6300%. Close black lens bracket. Skill. Teleportation 6000%. If we were invincible before, what is the difference between me and the gods of this world now? The system is really powerful. Looking at the series of statistics, Shaen's heart beat a little faster, and she couldn't help grinning. As a result, as soon as he finished chanting in his heart, the system popped up another prompt. Open black lens bracket ding. Paper arts has evolved into a new skill. Kamui close black lens bracket. Sharingan skills. Kamui. Shaen really forgot that her 6 styles still had skills that hadn't evolved yet, and at first glance, my good guy, it turned out to be the ability in the Hokage world. But just being able to activate Kamui, not Sharingan with Uchiha Obito, even so, it is a very powerful skill. System, it seems that you think I still have a short board, and you have given me the ability to travel back and forth between time and space. This skill, everyone who knows it, is a real magic skill, which can make oneself hollow avoid the enemy's attack. Shaen was very satisfied, so far she stretched herself. Next, escort the pirates back, and enjoy the rotten life at the top of the world. I don't know, what exactly does I want to do? What Shaen didn't know was that just after the end of the war, something happened in the holy land of Mariajoy. I stayed among the flowers, smelling the fragrance, and his originally sad mood became better. On the beautiful face, the corners of the mouth were raised for the first time, revealing a stunning smile. Hurry up and be born, the vitality contained in 800 years is enough for you to consume. At this time, her hand was placed on her stomach, which was already high and swollen. The embryo with Shaen's blood as the gene grew very fast. This is the same as an ordinary person who is pregnant for 7 or 8 months. I relaxed and felt the fetus in his stomach, but at this moment, a vibration from the sky came. And felt a very strange breath. Is there a powerful presence coming? The feeling of this breath made I flustered involuntarily, and his eyes froze. Soon, the voice of 5 elders came from outside the door. Master Feeling this extremely unusual atmosphere, 5 elders and Saint Geringer hurried over. What happened? Turned his head and asked lightly at first. As a result, 5 elders and Saint Geringer looked very dignified, and they informed Mariajoy that a huge spaceship had appeared in the sky. What? Spaceship? Space pirate? Immediately, was startled, and his eyes changed. Could it be that his captain has returned? Why is there no familiar atmosphere at all? Having said that, Im's temperament couldn't help standing up and walking out quickly, followed by the 5 elders. It wasn't until everyone went out to take a look that they gasped. Because the spaceship is slowly descending, it is far bigger than what I saw at the beginning. And knew that this was not the captain's ship. Immediately his face froze and turned cold. If Shaen is here at this time, I am afraid that this spaceship can be recognized at a glance. Because Shaen is very familiar with the world of One Punch Man, and even knows about Boros. It is exactly the car of Boros, the overlord of the universe, the captain of the dark matter pirates in the universe, in the world of One Punch Man. The huge ship carrying Boros across the universe is more than 10,000 meters long and more than 4,000 meters wide. It has extremely powerful firepower, far stronger than steel, and has more than 10,000 combatants inside. I'm afraid Shaen didn't expect that there would be a group of dark matter pirates in Pirate World. On the other hand, didn't know the details of Boros, and even led his people to stand on the square of Pangu City, watching with frowning eyes. I saw 4 grotesque figures descending slowly on the spaceship. The leader has a strong body and pink hair. Although he looks like a normal size, he is different from others. He only has one eye in the middle of his face, which looks very strange. And the others are even weirder than the last. He is naked, muscular, and has 5 ugly monsters with fleshy wings on their heads. There is also a dark green body, no eyes, only fangs, a big mouth and no fingers. It is also a monster with a mouth. And, the last one, with a head on top but only eyes, looks like an octopus below the head, the only guy who doesn't look very scary. This combination, just by looking at it, made 5 elders, Gellinger and the guards behind them terrified. What kind of monster is this? Many people couldn't help backing back again and again, swallowing their throats, obviously being taken aback. Was not intimidated by the appearance, but whether it was the 3 weirdos or the one-eyed man in the middle, felt extremely powerful. Especially the one-eyed man, with the falling figure, 5 elders, Gellinger Saint and all felt his terror. Who are you? Couldn't help but ask solemnly. When was speaking, the eyes of the octopus-like existence lit up, so that there was no language barrier between the 2 parties. Dark matter pirates, Boros. The one-eyed man responded lightly, and was quite polite. The three weird men behind them made a strange voice and said, Your Majesty, you are the overlord of the entire universe. The overlord of the universe. No, why did you come here? You shouldn't be here, where is my captain? When I heard this, he was surprised by the so-called overlord of the universe, and at the same time had a very bad premonition. Sure enough, Boros smiled coldly. You mean, Tianzheng. They have all died in the overlord of the universe. Hands, although they are vulnerable, but they get the glory. Goryuganshupu, that is, the octopus man, just licked Boros when he opened his mouth. It seems that this is not available to ordinary people. Didn't she realize that we were the ones who received the signal? The ugly monster with 5 heads, Maruzagarudo laughed, and the 5 heads laughed together, which was very ugly. Im's face turned dark, and he looked at Boros and the others, Zhao Mo's, in disbelief, and his heart was shaken violently. Captain Tianzheng is actually dead. How can this be? 5 elders and Saint Geringer obviously knew something, and when they heard the title of vulnerability and the overlord of the universe, they immediately felt awe-inspiring. Thinking about it carefully, they were terrified, and they all looked at Im, who was shocked in his heart, at a loss. At this time, Boros's one-eye turned, scanned the crowd, and then returned to Im. You may be the strong man I'm looking for. At this time in Mariajoy, Im is the most imposing, and even surpasses the others by a large margin, so he thinks that Im can fight with him. The only doubt is that there seems to be another breath on Im's body. Is it pregnant? However, Boros, who always only achieved his own goals and didn't care about anything, would not show mercy because of this. Instead he took a step forward, wanting to make Im fight. What do you want to do? 5 elders, Street Gellinger, and the Knights of the Gods sensed Boros' intentions and stepped forward to block them. The battle that the king wants, is it something you can stop? And who stood for you before the great King Boros? The octopus man Goluganshup's tone was flat, but he showed his disdain for them. And as soon as the words fell, a member of the Knights of God was thrown out like a cannonball by its idea of attack. With a bang, the knight forced all the people standing in front of Boros to disperse, and rushed into the wall of Pangu City, life or death unknown. 5 elders, Geringer Shaen and others immediately changed their expressions drastically. The other party was unscrupulous, and their tone was even madder than that of celestial dragons. Then, Street Geringer pulled out the long sword at his waist, and the 5 elders showed the power of devil fruit and turned into 5 hell creatures. Chapter 99 Boros. Boring battle. Amaterasu God tier vulnerable. Advertise here. The shape of the 5 elders is very scary, and their body size has also been greatly expanded, such as birds, elephants, wild boars, demons and creeps. This kind of hell creature like phantom beast ability made the 5 elders huge to a certain extent. However, for the 3 most senior subordinates of Boros, this was only a little more serious. We'll clean up this annoying trash for the chief. The 5-headed monster, Maruzagarudo, grinned grinningly and rushed towards the 5 elders. Saturn Satan was the first to collide with Maruzagarudo, but his hand turned into a hammer form, directly hitting the ground. Immediately, Gellinger's long sword came shining. The arc was drawn, and Maruzagarudo's arm was chopped off at the root. Strangely, his arm did not have the slightest splash of blood, the bloodless muscles surged, and the arm regenerated in an instant. Satan had just emerged from the ground, and he was shocked when he saw this, so he rushed up together with Geringer. The other side, a Zonburn v. Nasho Langshung and Shepherd X. Petershung met Golyu Ganshupu, a telekinetic alien. Relying on their powerful devil fruit ability, the two of them couldn't let Goryuganshup defeat them all at once even if they were suppressed. The remaining 5 elders, Topman Bouchery and Makas Mosh, fought against Gloribus. Fortunately, the two of them, a demon and a monster, resisted the strong acid of Gloribus. Can persist. But such a battle situation undoubtedly made Im very, very dignified, even nervous. The 3 subordinates are also strong, and they can still gain the upper hand against 5 elders and Gellinger, so how strong will this Boros be? But it seems that Boros has no interest in the battlefield in front of him, and the coldness of the one-eyed pupil is only on Im alone. The people on this planet are really extraordinary. They actually have this kind of ability, like some kind of creature in a fairy tale. Between the 2 sides of the battle, Goryuganshupu also had to admit that his opponent was difficult. However, 5 elders and Geringer were fighting against 3 of them. They had the superiority in numbers and were difficult to deal with. These people looked difficult to deal with, but it was only when they really fought against each other that they realized how much pressure they had. How could the 5-headed monster be immune to death? Even Gellinger used his swordsmanship to chop it into dozens of pieces, but in an instant, those muscles without blood were restored to their original shape. Moreover, the 5-headed monster's attack is also very powerful. Even Saint Satan transformed into a devil fruit form was smashed, and his blood surged. 360. The green monster that spewed strong acid was fine, but the 2 elders who were not afraid of these methods could still fight back and forth. But the octopus-like monster is very terrifying. The whole square was almost demolished by his telekinetic power. Those stones and even sand and dust became his weapons, making the last 2 5 elders fight extremely embarrassingly. Can't even get close. Even if you can get close, you will find that as long as you get close to this octopus monster, the gravitational force will become extremely strong, making the movement difficult and slow. But it can also be said that the joint strength of 5 elders and Gellinger will not easily lose, and it will be difficult to win. IM sees clearly, but wants to make a move but is concerned about Boros behind him, and is considering destroying them with the weapon repaired by Vegapunk. Unexpectedly, at this time, Boros couldn't hold back any more than she did. When holding his arms, his fingers moved lightly, and immediately got down, walking forward. Back off. Boros' footsteps did not stop, and he made a faint sound. The 3 cadres stopped and retreated without hesitation, their expressions a little panicked. The leader actually wanted to do it himself. If you keep fighting, I might as well go to sleep first. That's right, Boros is tired of the boring fight scenes. The 5 elders had time to gather together, looking solemnly at Boros who was walking forward, and their faces were even more gloomy when they heard such frivolous words. But with such simple steps, the pressure on them increased greatly. Even though a person came across, the pressure was greater than that of all the people combined. Stop. At this time, Gellinger roared. Before the words fell, the ground under Boros' feet suddenly exploded. It appeared in front of Gellinger almost instantly, and in that one-eyed pupil, Gellinger even saw irregular renderings. A chill came to my heart, but all the feelings were in such an instant. He didn't have time to react, neither did IM, and the 5 elders even had no time. Boros' fist could hit Gellinger's chest hard. Fortunately, Armament Hockey's defense has not been removed, but even so, Gellinger still seems to be hit by a high-speed train, almost piercing his chest. Unrivaled power struck overwhelmingly, a mouthful of ageb blood gushed up to the throat, and wow spurted out. Immediately, the body flew upside down and crashed into Pengu City. There was a rumbling sound, and it was impossible to see how far Gellinger had crashed into it. This move directly surprised 5 elders and IM. The 5 monsters transformed into 5 elders reacted with a strange cry. All kinds of moves immediately attacked Boros, and the dust flew up for a while, but no matter what kind of attack, the 5 elders absolutely believed that they were attacking the iron wall and could not be shaken at all. This defense, they subconsciously thought it was comparable to Xia En's Susanoo. However, as the attack continued, Boros directly grabbed the limb of one of the 5 elders who was attacking, and pinched it fiercely. Immediately, the flesh and blood exploded. Saint Satan let out a scream. This limb is his arm. A simple action of Boros directly destroyed Hockey, and crushed his capable body. How terrible, Sa Tianzheng screamed, and the other 4 couldn't help being frightened. This is a strong man from outside the sky. The strength of the overlord of the universe is simply terrifying. But these still cannot allow the 5 elders to back down. Nashoro Sheng pulled out the first-generation Onitsu in the form of his ability, and stabbed towards Boros' chest. Street. Peter aimed at Boros' one-eyed. The transformed body of their devil fruit is also very huge, so the sense of oppression is still very strong, as if Boros can be severely injured in the next second. But no one thought that Boros was still holding the severed arm of Saint Satan in one hand, and was shaking his fist with the other hand without raising his head. Even the afterimages were almost dazzling, and in the blink of an eye, the 2 of Peter and Saint were knocked to the ground heavily, sliding out a deep ditch. They couldn't stop Boros' power at all, and they were even beaten back into human form, their bodies trembling, and blood continuously overflowing from their mouths. In the blink of an eye, 2 more 5 elders were seriously injured. With such a terrifying figure, the remaining Bachuli saints all had the intention of retreating and fear in their hearts. Boros didn't intend to let anyone go. He threw Satan's arm as a hidden weapon, and with a bang, there was a sonic boom. The severed limbs hit Bachuli Street like cannonballs. You don't need to think about it to know how powerful this throw is. Even a drop of water thrown may have such a powerful force that Sage Bachuli dare not catch it, and he can't dodge it. Too close. But at this moment, a huge shadow monster appeared and blocked Boros' attack. The powerful power was disintegrated in an instant, and a puddle of blood from the remaining limbs fell to the ground. There was a lot of interest in Boros' one-eyed eyes, and he looked behind Saint Bouchery. The person who made the move just now was IM. Now she doesn't care that she has an embryo on her body, and she took out the Amaterasu god tier form. That shadow monster is exactly the companion beast under the feet of Amaterasu god tier. If you want to fight Mew, then you can do so. If he doesn't make a move, this one-eyed guy will finish off all 5 elders. As soon as IM made a move, it was indeed extremely sharp. After becoming huge, steam streamers flew along with it, and the extremely powerful armament Hockey gathered between his raised hands, and he clenched his hand into a fist and smashed it down at Boros. It seemed that he was still worried that Boros would move and dodge, and the shadow monster also pounced on him to restrict Boros' movements. However, he didn't have a defensive posture at all, as if he was stunned, waiting for IM's attack to come. Boom. The square in front of Pengu City exploded in an instant. Amidst the dust, the impact and fluctuations of power spread out, even affecting the surrounding buildings, and a big hole was smashed out by IM. But then, IM's expression tightened, and he retracted his fist to see that Boros was standing there unscathed. No wonder you dare to say that Captain Tianlong died in his hands. M thought in shock. I knew that Boros was very strong, but I didn't fully believe what Boros said. One must know that Tianzheng is a space pirate who wanders the starry sky, how could he be killed? But now it seems that Boros does have this ability. Not bad strength, and the energy in your hand, it can actually increase the attack. Boros patted his chest, pretending to praise I am. He is very unfamiliar with hockey, but it is not difficult to understand its efficacy. Immediately stopped thinking about the distracting thoughts in his heart, and when he folded his hands together, Conqueror's hockey burst out violently all over his body. The powerful momentum even made the three of Poros's subordinates feel the pressure, and they stared at I am in amazement. This kind of power is really strange. It doesn't belong to any kind of energy we have seen. Could it be that he is really the strong one that King Boros said? Goryuganshupu said in surprise, his eyes staring closely at him with no bright whites. He thinks that the people on this planet are really interesting, and they are transformed and have inexplicable energy. At this time, I am, who folded his hands together to gather hockey, flashed a fierce look, and pressed down with a palm. Black and red lightning entangled in the palm, burst out intensively, and before falling on the palm, these hockey lightning bursts hit Boros and the shattered crater. But to this level, there was no pressure on Boros, and he didn't even feel much. Instead, he felt some strength from Im's pressed palm. Immediately jumped up excitedly, quickly waved your fists to fight against the past. There was another roar, and 5 elders and Gellinger, who had just climbed out, saw the translucent power impact spread like ripples on the water surface during the conflict between the two sides, and black and red lightning bolts thicker than a human fell down and split. The building and the ground explode. Terrifyingly, the aftermath of Im's confrontation with Boros made Mariajoy shudder. For them, this is a battle above the peak, shocking and frightening. There was disbelief in Im's eyes. In the confrontation, he was the first to fall into the disadvantaged. With a flip of his palm, his whole body was taken a step back by the powerful force of Boros. The receding ankles sank directly into the ground, and the huge body made I am lean on the Pangu city, and the pressed wall broke. You seem to be worse than Tianzheng, that guy has caused me some trouble no matter what. Boros was very dissatisfied with this confrontation. Some doubted whether I am could pose a threat to himself. I am was even more angry when she heard this, she knew that Polo C is very strong, and immediately plans not to try again. After standing up straight, still put your hands together. What's different this time is that when the Conqueror's hockey erupted, I am no longer pressed down with his palm, but called Yada Mirror. This Yada Mirror is not Kazaru's kind, but an artifact that summons Amaterasu god tier. On the top of Poros's head, as I am yelled, an illusory bronze round mirror appeared. This seems interesting. Instead of worrying, Boros became even more excited, and simply stood there to see what kind of offensive I am was going to use. However, the next second, containing Im's hockey, a green streamer burst down from the illusory Yada mirror. Like a stream of water, it contains terrifying energy. I am not worried about not hitting Boros, because Yada mirror's attack is locked on the target. No matter how Boros moves, it will fall on him in the end. This is one of Im's most powerful moves. Instead of being surprised, Boros rushed directly towards the green streamer, and even towards the illusory Yada mirror in the sky. But soon, he was washed down by the streamer of Yada mirror. The destructive power of this energy was terrifying, it directly impacted Boros down and fell into the ground. The original big pit seemed to be drilled out of the hole, and with the impact of the streamer, Boros continued to be pressed down. For a moment, no one could tell how deep the ground was. It was just that the entire red line was under the terrifying power of the earthquake, and the hole cracked, exposing the red land. Both sides were torn apart and the crack continued to expand. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the 5-headed monster, the octopus man and the other guy with dark green skin changed slightly. After all, it is a strange planet, who knows what will happen to Master Boros when he is hit by this kind of attack. But Im's Yada mirror streamer didn't last long. After consuming a lot of hockey and energy, it finally converged, and the illusory Yada mirror disappeared. The earthquake stopped, leaving only a large hole and fissure going straight into the ground. I am looked solemnly, trying to sense whether Boros was seriously injured, but before he could sense it, a figure was picked out of the pothole. It is Boros who came back up again. It's just different from before. The pink hair has a lot of dust, and the yellow armor on his body is cracked and cracked. Chapter 100 Boros, Desperate Strength. Gellinger. We still have stronger ones. Advertise here. Yes, besides Tianzheng, you are the second person who broke my armor. The yellow armor on Boros' body shattered and pieces fell to the ground, and he did not forget to praise him. Seeing that his defense had been broken, Im's expression changed a little, and he thought that there was no chance. However, after hearing this, I am also found that Boros didn't have any injuries at all, and was very surprised. You should know that the green streamer just now is one of the most powerful moves in Amaterasu's god tier form. Your defenses have been broken, what else is there to be proud of? I am clasped his hands together again, Conqueror's hockey's lightning wrapped around his arms, wanting to continue launching Yada mirror again. If one hit doesn't work, then 2, 3 times. Do you think this is my defensive armor? Seeing the cold light flickering in Im's eyes, Boros couldn't help laughing. Immediately he said slowly, my power is too strong, so strong that it makes the enemy desperate, and this armor is not for protecting me, but for sealing me. After saying that, a terrifying energy erupted from Boros' body. The powerful momentum soared into the sky, causing the floating spaceship to tilt quite a bit. On Boros' exposed blue skin, lines lit up, and the bead-like organs on his chest were even more radiant with energy. Without the seal of the armor, Boros is more than a little stronger, his strength is simply rising like a rocket. Just this movement of liberating body energy caused the gravel on the ground to float, and the sky was filled with dust. Faintly, even the ground trembled, making the pupils of and the five elders tremble. His armor, just a seal. Gellinger was so shocked that he couldn't even feel the pain on his body. Five elders, Im's face became incomparably gloomy. If this is really the case, how powerful should Boros be? However, when the energy is released, Boros in the normal form is even more belligerent and crazy, staring at Im closely, because of laughing and attacking outrageously. As soon as he kicked his feet, a large crater of more than 10 meters exploded on the ground, and his figure was several times faster than before, so fast that the vision of the five elders could not catch the trajectory of Boros. But I am still able to keep up with Boros' speed by virtue of his hundreds of years of hockey cultivation. Just now I was about to launch Yada Mirror, so I launched it decisively. Despite Boros' speed, the Yada Mirror streamer, which automatically tracks and never loses its target, is not far behind. But at this time, Boros didn't care about Yada Mirror's streamer, his one eye was bloodshot, and Im was the only one. The huge Amaterasu god tier form is actually a huge target. The superstar armament hockey arranged by Im is in front of him, like a transparent wall, trying to block Boros' assault. As a result, in just a second, Boros directly broke through with his unrivaled impact. Then he hit hard with the hands that Im pushed. In an instant, the light visible to the naked eye on Boros' body lit up. Im cried out in pain, the palm of the huge body was almost pierced by Boros, and two finger bones were broken. The huge body retreated again and again, crashing into Pangu City with a bang. Half of the once glorious Pangu City was now affected by this battle and collapsed. At this time, the streamer of the Yada Mirror also came in front of Boros, washing his body fiercely. But to everyone's surprise and horror, the streamer that originally drove Boros into the ground was torn apart by his hands, split into two pieces and fell to the ground. Amid the tremors on the ground, whether it was Im, the five elders, Gellinger, or the Knights of God watching from a distance, they were stunned. Why is Boros' body so strong? Especially Im himself was a little stunned, knowing how terrifying the streamer of Yada Mirror is. This is the so-called breaking the seal. The power that Boros said is too strong, so he sealed his own power. Ha 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 ha. Not bad, not bad. Yada Mirror's streamer power is good, making Boros in a normal liberated state feel comfortable. However, this kind of laughter was simply a humiliation to Im. The five elders and Gellinger hated themselves for being so weak, not even strong enough to help. Im's eyes widened even more, and his breathing became short of breath. The next moment, when Boros turned around, his whole body burst into pink light, rushing towards Im like a shooting star. Come on, let's keep fighting. His attack method is actually very simple: power, burst, punch. The real power is so back to basics, just like Shaen's Yi Gai, ZZGE, it's all about fists and feet. Therefore, Boros' offensive is also very simple: bump into it, and punch. Im's eyes were red, and he released his ability and hockey with all his strength, and the terrifying black lightning poured out. She has a stronger move. Yada Mirror. Death. There are many moves, but Im is only the two strongest moves that can cause damage to Boros. It turned out that it was transformed from the sky, sending down streamer attacks, and this move directly summoned the Yada Mirror in his hands. Holding the Yada Mirror, Hockey, who poured directly into the superstar, has the ability to impress Boros fiercely. The power of this move is several times stronger than the knight that Xia En used in Marineford. It is also the strongest move that Im can explode. Without any scruples, Boros directly slammed into it, fiercely bombarding forward with his fists. At the same time, the Yada Mirror burst out with brilliant light. Normally speaking, there will be a process of confrontation in the conflict between the two energies, and the winner can be decided in the end. But to the horror and despair of Im, five elders, Geringer and everyone else, such a huge and terrifying energy bombardment did not stop Boros. It can also be said to be useless. Boros directly pierced through the divine light of Yada Mirror, tore up the phantom of this artifact, and smashed it fiercely towards Im's face. There was a loud bang, and under the terrified eyes of the five elders, Im almost lost consciousness and passed out. Fortunately, in Amaterasu god tier form, fortunately he did not attack the belly, but even so, Boros poured energy into his punch and directly defeated Im's hockey. Its gigantic Amaterasu god tier form retreated back to human form at the end, slumping to the ground, vomiting blood, eyes dizzy. The power of one punch actually wounded and defeated Im, and suppressed all the power of his devil fruit back. This is the strength of the overlord of the universe. The five elders and Im himself have a sense of looking up. This one-eyed monster is too powerful, so powerful that it makes people despair. If we can't win, we have no chance. Five elders helped the fallen Im, and saw that Weimei's face was broken and bleeding. Faced with a monster like Boros that can be suppressed with a single punch even in Amaterasu god-tier form, how can we fight? Even if Xia En came, it would probably be a failure. This is no longer a force that this world can contend with. It's no wonder that Tianlong has been killed by him. With such strength, it is more than enough to kill Captain Tianlong. So with such absolute strength, I am and the others were desperate. Boros was too strong for them to contend with. At this time, Boros landed on the ground, his one eye showed nothing but doubts and dissatisfaction, he stared straight at I am and said, "You only have this strength." This is not an intentional insult, but Boros is really puzzled. He thought that I am could exert a stronger power. As a result, just after the seal was released, he was beaten and vomited blood within 2 moves, and his breath was weak. Stronger people. It's because he misunderstood IM's strength, which is what Boros thinks of himself. In short, at this time, knowing that I am has no whole cards, his strength and. So at this time, he was faintly irritable and bored, and I am, 5 elders and others didn't even have a chance to speak, and immediately said, "Then just kill them all. The weak have no reason to live." I am, the 5 elders smiled wryly upon hearing this. As the top of the world, they couldn't even control their own life and death in the end. They were easily defeated by people from outside the sky, and they were desperate. Resist. With what to resist? No one can defeat such a horrible guy. He was going to kill everyone just because he lost the fun of fighting. Geilinger was in a cold sweat, frightened by Boros' undisguised killing intent. But everyone can die, but I can't. The protection and loyalty engraved in Geringer's bones made him shout at this moment, "There are stronger ones." Immediately, everyone looked at Geilinger. Is there still stronger? Where is he? Apparently Boros was also attracted by him, and stopped thinking of killing everyone immediately. However, both 5 elders and I am realized that what Geilinger said was more accurate. Looking around the world, there is only one Xia En who can compete with I am in terms of strength. But this is too absurd. 0. Ask for flowers. No, there is no one stronger. Xia En can't be his opponent at all. I am didn't know why, but he refuted Geilinger without hesitation. She subconsciously thought that Xia En could not be Boros' opponent. So no matter what happens in the end, he can't fight these monsters. He is still young and has unlimited potential. Maybe he can really defeat Boros in the future, but it must not be now. Yeah, Geilinger, it's impossible, the gap between the two sides is too big. The 5 elders also felt that moving out of Xia En would not change anything, and they were very desperate. But at this time, as the leader of the Knights of God, he still insisted that there is a stronger person, and he swore to Boros, and turned around immediately. No, Lord I am. Xia En is the only one who can surpass you, and also the one who can surpass him. Geilinger turned his back to the 4 of Boros and faced I am and the 5 elders, speaking loudly, but his eyes were full of pleading. Yes, he also knew that his daydreaming had delayed Boros' action. At the same time, he also hoped that Xia En could really resist Boros. After all, the journey of a genius and strong man is too legendary. He has created the strongest name in the sea in a short period of time. What if it really happens? I am, the 5 elders were dumbfounded. Could it be that they really want to bring Xia En in front of Boros? It can be said that here, there is no room for them to choose. Oh, what kind of person makes you feel stronger than your master? 0. Boros was obviously interested in Xia En, and asked slowly. In that one eye, the absolute strength brought him unquestionable confidence, but just looking at Geilinger and talking so lightly, Geringer felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. He hurriedly said, "He is the youngest strong man in the history of the world. More than half a year ago, he was just an ordinary person, but he has grown rapidly after entering Marine. Now he has become the strongest man in the world." You mean, he is the strongest on your planet? Man, and still the youngest. I see. Genius is nothing to Boros, who roams the universe. When he was young, he had already ruled more than one planet, and had already started the road to supremacy. On the contrary, when it comes to a strong person like Xia En, the one-eyed expression is more interested. But he's not here now, he's out to deal with the pirates at sea. Geilinger then added, "I thought I'm sorry Xia En, we've tried our best, and the next thing is to see if you can resist a real monster like Boros. Very good, you managed to save one life. If the said strong man disappoints me, I will not just kill everyone here, but smash the entire planet. Now, take me to find that Xia En." Boros laughed loudly, letting them lead the way and also have expectations. According to the prophecy and my own perception, there is indeed a force on this planet that threatens me. Whether it is Xia En is hard to say, so I will try it first. Hearing that the entire planet will be destroyed, I am and the 5 elders were terrified, but the matter has come to this point, and they can only pin their hopes on Xia En, hoping that he can resist the waves. Rose, even if it is a tie. What's more, if you don't take him to find Xia En, I'm afraid Boros will blow up the entire planet in the end, and everyone in the world will die. Of course, Xia En at this time didn't know that Boros had arrived on this planet, and was still staring at herself under the guidance of Geilinger. At this time, I was sitting on the luxurious sofa in the warship and hurried back to Marineford leisurely. While watching, the Marines were overjoyed, they couldn't stop their excitement and pride. while supervising Marine to escort the astonishing number of pirates. These pirates, including Marco, Katakuri, Jin and others, never imagined that they would have this day, handcuffed on a warship, even unable to control their own life and death, waiting to be caught by the sea. Army prison. Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Red Earl and others sighed again and again. They couldn't beat them, they couldn't run away, they lost their freedom, and they would even have to experience the thoroughness of the era of great pirates in prison in the future. The curtain ends. Even at this time, Shichibukai, Hawkeye, Doflamingo, and Hancock are following, with hesitation, without the era of great pirates, what would they do? Fortunately, however, their Shichibukai were not involved. But soon, Xia En was idle and bored, and just wanted to chat with Whitebeard and ask what is the secret treasure of One Piece. As a result, I suddenly felt a terrifying momentum coming. Chapter 101 Boros confronts Xia En. 10,000% bonus. Advertise here. Such a blatant, undisguised release of momentum. Xia En frowned, came to the deck, and raised her eyes to the sky. In fact, after Boros released the seal, he couldn't completely restrain his momentum. Just like that, before the spaceship approached, the terrifying aura had enveloped the audience, making everyone startled. On more than a dozen warships, Marines people all raised their eyes to look in the direction where the momentum was coming. Whose breath is this? Why is it so scary? Many people felt flustered. Gradually, they saw black spots appearing in the sky, and they continued to enlarge. Sengoku, Kong, Garp, the three admirals, and the CPO all came to Xia En's side, and asked suspiciously, who knows what that is? Everyone present shook their heads. The visitor is not kind, his aura is very violent. Garp bared his teeth, and the aura continued to grow stronger as the distance approached. With his own strength, he even felt terrible. Could it be that there are hidden strong men in the world? And, what is that flying? Rob Lucci glanced at the strong men on the ship. This is already the Marine Pirates Revolutionary Army, the three parties gathered, how could there be such a terrifying guy? And the obvious black spot on the sky can be seen getting bigger and bigger as it approaches. Yes, spaceship. Xia En's eyesight became even stronger, and others could see the appearance of the spaceship before they could see it clearly. And it looks, why is it a bit familiar? Everyone became more and more dignified. Gradually, the Marine soldiers on the warship broke out in cold sweat. The handcuffed, 093, Whitebeard, Golden Lion and other 7 powerhouses all raised their heads, shocked by the momentum. Who is here? Why is it so strong? They were shocked, all because this aura was even more terrifying than when Xia En turned into silver white when fighting them. Until, the huge spacecraft came to the front of the warship fleet, and the tens of thousands of meters long hull covered the sky and the sun, and it was displayed in front of everyone. Even Xia En looked at this product of the super pirate world, and couldn't help showing surprise, and the others were even speechless because of the terrifying battleship. Whitebeard, Golden Lion and others couldn't care less, even though they were handcuffed by Seastone, they got up and looked outside, and they were all startled. What the hell? A ship flying in the sky. Isn't this a bit like Golden Lion? His main ship is a huge spaceship transformed from an island. It's just that it's nothing compared to this 10,000-meter long spaceship. Most importantly, the weapons that looked like muzzles were all new to them. On the contrary, Xia En needs to know a little bit more. After a closer look, he immediately recognizes that this is a spaceship bursting with firepower. At this time, the hatch below the spaceship opened. The face of the overwhelmed IM is red, followed by the gray-faced 5 elders. Gellinger Saint appears. Xia En was a little confused at first glance. What is the situation? It turned out to be IM. As a result, in the next second, he almost exploded with foul language. IM behind the 7 of them, one-eyed, blue-skinned, with shining lines. Boros. The 4 of Boros also followed IM, and that single eye full of fighting spirit locked directly on Xia En. This made the overlord of the universe grin his mouth wide, as if he was very happy. At this moment, the momentum becomes more violent with the excitement of emotions. Everyone present, whether it was Marine or the pirates, felt the terrifying aura emanating from this one-eyed monster, and everyone was shocked by it. The aura is too powerful. As long as you feel it a little bit, it is like facing the scorching sun, and you will be submerged at any time without leaving any dross, which makes people tremble with fear. As a result, the doubts of the 5 elders and the others following this strange person were all suppressed, and everyone's minds were shocked by Boros' terrifying aura. Among the people present, only Xia En was not affected, but she couldn't hide her surprise. Damn it, the characters in One Punch Man. No wonder this spaceship looks so familiar. Space Pirate Boros, the guy known as the overlord of the universe. Xia En couldn't think of why Boros would be encountered in Pirate World, and Xia En was a little confused for a while. Could it be that the 2 worlds are actually one? Forget it, I don't understand. But how did IM and the others get together with Boros? It looks like they were beaten. IM didn't have any obvious injuries on his body, his face was just a bit embarrassed, but 5 elders and Gellinger were miserable, their heads were ashamed, and Satan lost a part of his arm. At this time, IM who came down from the air took 5 elders and apologized. Xia En, I'm sorry, Mew, is not his opponent. Seeing that the Lord is so ashamed, 5 elders, Gellinger is also embarrassed, and then said, we really have no choice. This monster needs to find a stronger one, otherwise it will destroy the whole world. Now it may be destroyed. The only one who can beat them is you, Xia En. The few of them were really miserable, their breath was weak, and they were seriously injured. Xia En also opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. Under normal circumstances, no matter whether you win the fight or not, you will attract the enemy to trouble yourself, and you will be taught first. But now, Xia En didn't care about it. Boros floating under the spaceship was watching him with fighting spirit, so he raised his head and looked at him. Sengoku, Garp, 3 Admiral, Kong, after hearing the words of 5 elders and IM, they all looked dumbfounded, but it is not difficult to hear that the 4 strange-looking guys above are all enemies. Where did the enemy come from? So powerful, why haven't I seen or heard of it? Also, who is this beautiful woman? Why are 5 elders standing behind her? Really no. With a series of questions, everyone wanted to ask Xia En. At this time, the strange man in the sky sneered. This is the strongest you guys are talking about. Which one is it? It's obviously a bunch of weak chickens. Are you deceiving the great Boros-sama? Golyu Yushopu scolded IM and the 5 elders with a tearing voice. His telekinetic power was obviously not discovered by any strong person. King Boros, it seems that these people are dishonest, they might as well kill them all. Maruzagarudo, with 5 heads, was grinning grinningly, looking at the people on the warship below with disdain. But Boros didn't listen to the words of his subordinates at all at this time, and stared at Xia En with increasing excitement, and looked at him. He found that this was the first time someone could watch him without any waves in his normal form. Boros's perception is also different from that of the 3 subordinates, and he can clearly perceive the energy of Pembai in Xia En's body. So he said to the 3 men, "Idiot," immediately landed on the deck of the warship, and had a close eye contact with Xia En. Maruzagarudo, Gloribas, and Golyu Yushopu were reprimanded, and they also fell down in shock. However, Xia En and Boros knew that they had met their opponents. Boros, the undisputed powerhouse, the monster that can run rampant in the universe. Xia En actually had the urge to fight Boros. With his current strength, he might not be able to defeat him. Boros also grinned his mouth, which was completely different from that of a human, as if smiling. At this time, Golyuganshupu and the others disdain the people on the warship, and are still taunting, threatening that after King Boros does his best, you will all be tortured to death. Xia En frowned. These unsightly words were really ugly, so she directly released the pressure of the soul. The faint blue expression flashed across the eyes, and the invisible fluctuations instantly enveloped the 3 of Goryu Ganshuzen. Although the 3 of them are alien creatures, they also have souls. The boundless horror is even more terrifying than the fear that Boros gave everyone. It directly shook the souls of the 3 Goryuganshupu, body and soul trembling. The irresistible soul impact directly caused their self-consciousness to collapse, kneeling on the ground, and howling hoarsely. The 3 leaders of the dark matter pirates, who were still clamoring for 5 elders and Gellinger, were no different from fools at the moment. Seeing this scene, everyone was immediately relieved and amazed, especially the 5 elders, who opened their mouths wide in shock. Sure enough, Xia En has this strength. This gap. They couldn't win with all their efforts, but Xia En didn't even move a hand, and was directly stunned and knelt down, her consciousness collapsed. At the same time, IM, Gellinger, and 5 elders also had hope in their hearts. These 3 weirdos can't even support Xia En's soul pressure, so his real strength is really likely to defeat Boros. They were still uneasy at first, but now they have calmed down a lot. But the reality is, will Boros watch Xia En suppress him? He will, but not when he makes eye contact with Xia En and gets interrupted. Boros was a little displeased with the behavior of his subordinates just now, and he was also displeased with Xia En's sudden release of coercion to avoid the confrontation. He thought that the opponent should be himself, and he should not care about these insignificant things. Suddenly, Boros made a move. The eruption under the seal is liberated, and there is no difference between teleportation at this distance. When I moved my feet, even the deck of the warship collapsed, and the airflow driven by the body formed an impact, directly sending IM, 5 elders, Gellinger, and even his subordinates, Sengoku and others all flying out. With this punch, the sound exploded. Let everyone except Xia En react too late. At this time, Xia En's dynamic vision and even his body's reaction reached an unprecedented peak. Boros is very strong, but not to the point where Xia En can't react. Just as both sides moved at the same time, the red light lit up. Boros' fist just hit Susanoo, who was unfolded by Xia En in an instant. Bang! The terrifying force drove the impact, but it was directly blocked by Susanoo. However, with this punch, the warship collapsed directly, and the pirates and marines on it were directly blown away by the aftermath, and even the weaker pirates and marines were directly killed because of this. In the nearest cabin, there are locked Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Bullet and others. But none of them expected that there would be such a big commotion outside. The destructive power of the impact of the aftermath is so powerful that it is unimaginable. The entire warship was torn into pieces. When they touched it, the chains collapsed. They were originally freed from the shackles, but only after being hit by the aftermath did they realize how terrifying it was. Including Whitebeard, although the 7 strong men did not die, they vomited blood with a puff and were pushed out. Immediately, The aftermath of the collision between the two sides spread like ripples on a calm water surface, shattering most of the surrounding warships, and pushing them obliquely far away. The sea surface even sank into a circular crater, covering several kilometers. Only Susanoo supported by Xia En and the fist printed on it are left. Boros. Suffering such an astonishing power, everyone saw this scene after flying out, and everyone was shocked to the extreme. Especially 5 elders, Gellinger, and Marine's 3 admirals, these high-level executives were shocked. The combined strength of all of us is not at the same level as theirs. This is too scary. What is the origin of the one-eyed monster? Sengoku, Tianpu exclaimed Tianzheng. Just such a punch. And seeing Xia En's aura after opening Susanoo, it has become stronger again. After this punch, Boros became even more excited. 2.1 became excited, his fist was still sending out energy stars flying around Susanoo, but he was laughing out loud. And Xia En also felt the power of Boros and was very surprised. Sure enough, he is a guy who runs amok in the universe, the power of this punch is really strong and fierce enough. Even Susanoo feels shaken inside. Suddenly, Xia En's expression changed, and the system sounded an upgrade at this time. Ding, host wins this battle and can get a lot of rewards. This reward is increased by 10,000%. Close black lens bracket. 10,000%. That's great. After all, the opponent in this battle is Boros. With the reward, Xia En's eyes revealed fighting spirit. Boros laughed and said, ha 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 ha, finally we have an opponent. Invincibility is a very lonely thing for him, and he has been searching for many years just to find an opponent. No one has ever been able to receive a punch in the state of releasing the seal so easily, and he is sure that Xia En is his opponent. And from this blow, Boros could feel the phantom giant in front of Xia En, whose defense was very strong. Hee, a rival that is evenly matched. Xia En, however, was a little displeased with this idiot who only had opponents, and he knew exactly what kind of virtue Boros was. Since it is lonely to be invincible and powerful, let him feel what it is like to be defeated today. 21 times the king of the world. Open. The turbulent arrogance of the realm king fist shot straight into the sky. In an instant, the sea of clouds billowed and roared, the entire sky darkened somewhat, and thunder flickered. The terrifying power rippled, causing the sea below to burst open and sink.